Okay, I have 9:01, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome to our new board members. I think what I'd like to do is, well, first of all, I want to explain that all the meetings are videotaped and recorded. And so that's what the camera's about, and that's what the tape recorder's about, in the other room over there. And if you're interested in seeing these meetings afterwards, you go on YouTube, is that right?
And that's the easiest. They're on the city website, but it's easiest just to go on YouTube and Google Callahan House Advisory Board meeting, January, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. So that's what that's all about. And you know, I want us all to be able to hear what's going on, so feel free to speak up, please. And I'm a school teacher, retired school teacher, so I have a school teacher voice, and school teacher ears went away a long time ago. So, so help me out by speaking up so I can hear what's going on too. So anyway, I'll start. My name is Candy Shy, and I started on the board in 2005, so I've been around a long time, and I have to sit out every now and then. But it's a place that's near and dear to my heart and to my family heritage and stuff, so I feel like this is a very important thing to me. So that's why I've been on the board for so long, and I hope you all have that feeling as well as you go hear this. So, welcome.
And I'm Cindy Martini, and I think I've been on the board since January 23.
Sounds right.
Yeah, so I'm an oldie, but kind of newbie compared to some of them.
I'm Diana Lassick, and I'm new. I play bridge at the Callahan House twice a month and have for years, so I love this place.
I'm Brittany Hastings. I'm the Callahan House manager. I was on the board initially, started when Cindy did in January of 2023, and then the house manager position opened up that same year and applied, and so I started as a manager in late July of 2023. So it's just been about a year and a half or so, and I really enjoy being a part of this. So I'm excited to have you both. All three of you.
I am Ben Wagner. I want to welcome all three of you guys. I'm the Recreation and Golf Superintendent, and I have been with the city for 17 and a half years. So I've been here a little bit and helped with stuff here at the Callahan House for the last coming up on 6 years. And yeah, I'm very proud to say that I was part of the team that targeted her with an arrow when we got going. Things are going really well with the house right now, and it's a tribute to Brittany and all of our board too, for sure. Everybody's given so much to this place. So.
I'm Julie Brown, born and raised in Longmont. My parents had their wedding reception here at Callahan House in 1955. So it's been part of our family. And my mom recently passed away, so it was encouraging to me to put myself out there. She was so involved with the community, so I thought Callahan House would be a good way to give back to Longmont.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm Jeff Gallagher, obviously a new member. My wife and I moved to Longmont about 2.5 years ago from Maryland to be close to our first born grandchild. I do have a background in architecture and had the pleasure to be in the house probably 2, 3, 4 times. Once with Santa Claus last year with our grandson, and I think a couple open houses. I just really intrigued by the house, the design, the architecture. So that's kind of what inspired me to become interested in the house and the board.
Great.
I'm Karen Cruz, and I've served on the board since 2014, with the 1-year break being 2020. And in that year, I spent my time grant writing so that we could have the large grant from the History of Colorado. So even though I'm a year off between the terms, I do aspect that it's just a love that is, I'm passionate about this house. I don't have family ties. I didn't grow up here in the city. My husband and I moved here in '97. We've loved it ever since, and I love this house on purpose, and it's a gift, and who the Callahan's were, and why they gave this to the city. So that's what drives me to serve on this board.
Kristen, we're introducing ourselves.
My last stop. Yeah. I'm Kristen. I work with these two in recreation. My office is down at the Memorial Building. I've been with the city since 2019. And yeah, I've loved to get to know everybody on the board. It's been a really cool experience for me and this house and everything it brings to the community. And working alongside Brittany and her passion to sort of come up, bring this house to life and bring people here for various reasons.
I also hired her.
Two for men.
Okay, we'll move on then, and the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. So as you look over this, were there any additions or corrections or changes you'd like to propose for the agenda this morning?
I do have a few. First off, our year is 2025, so we'll want that updated.
Yep.
Little things like that can be easily overlooked. Let's see. The next thing is I do think that we're missing some items in new business. And that would be posting location for agendas and cancellations. That is typically on our new business for the beginning of every year. That's something the board does need to discuss and agree.
Posting agenda in minutes, is that what you said?
Posting the location for agendas and cancellations. That's a very normal thing we do every January. And then also 2025 calendar events. I know we have dates for 2025 open houses and art walks listed here, but it does need to be more inclusive because there's more than just open houses and art walks. So could we convert that line item to 2025 calendar of events? Because that's really more accurate and gonna.
What other events would be included there?
Everything from what you've got listed on another line item, the TV club affair, but then other things as well that are yet
What other things?
discussed. That's something for the board to discuss. That's part of when we meet in January. It's part of how we look at the year and determine what's coming up. What are the things we always do, and what are some things that we need to consider? So,
Okay.
events.
Well, one of the things that popped out related to that to me was the patrons kickoff, because we were going to talk about this
Exactly.
patrons up here, so that was one of the things.
Yeah.
So open houses and events is what you want to read?
It needs to be 2025 calendar of events. So where it reads dates for 2025 open houses,
Patrons.
just replace that with 2025 calendar of events, and that will be more all-inclusive. And then we also need that will fall under calendar events, a separate line item, which would be formation of committees and lead of each committee. And that helps us, after we've decided our calendar of events, to set out who's taking the lead on what project, who's taking the lead on artwork, who's taking the lead on any other event other than any other special event, who's taking the lead on that. It just helps us to create those point of contact for who's going to move forward with each project or event. So.
Sounds like a pretty big chunk of work right there. So
It's quick.
what I would propose is that we probably can't do the whole thing today, and that there may have to break off into separate groups for different things to come up with the final lead people and
Sure.
committees and things
Sure.
like that. So we can put a calendar together based on what we know is actually going to happen.
And then, but if you don't put a point person, say, or a art block, for example.
Right,
Then you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
have that point,
Right.
who's gonna be, okay, you're taking the lead on the art walk this year.
Right.
I think it's appropriate to go ahead and do that this year.
Sure.
In January.
Or at least give people a chance to think about wanting to be a leader for that type of thing.
Sure.
Because it may need a little more explanation about what that item is gonna be, so. Okay, anything else? Alrighty then, I'd like to hear a motion for approval of the amended agenda.
I move we approve the amended agenda.
Okay, Karen moves, second.
Second.
Thank you, Julie. Okay. Approval of previous
Candy.
month's minutes.
Votes.
All in favor?
Yes, all in favor? Okay, passes. So now, the previous month's minutes, December 11th. Are there any additions or corrections to make to those minutes? Ring, ring, ring.
Okay. In 3, that first item listed, number 18, I think that was Brittany's suggested change. I had no idea about CJ chapter, but
Well, it wasn't listed. It
Okay.
was a blank as to which chapter it was. So
Right,
we just corrected it to be CJ chapter.
oh, okay. But you just have Karen Kay had all the changes, and I just going to give the credit to Brittany. She caught that one, and not me, but.
I think it was Karen Reed.
It was
Oh,
Karen.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was Karen.
All right. And then, under that 6B, Connie's last name, it's N-E-U.
Which one are you on?
It's still
Okay.
under 3, but
Yeah.
the 6B, Connie's last name is N-E-U. N-A-N-N. Connie Newman is a past board member and wonderful historian and
Yes,
very
she's
special.
Great.
And you'll meet her, she's still, comes in and occasionally, which is wonderful. I don't want her name misspelled. Then in the action, that needs to show that included the moving and seconding the motion of, approving the minutes. At the end, that says, it needs to say the motion unanimously passed. Because you need a motion, you seconded, you need the result.
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time?
The motion unanimously passed, needs to be added.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Under 5C, we did change patrons of Callahan House on that agenda to patrons of the Callahan House. And it's okay to put under, a lowercase t with the, because that is consistent with what the Longmont Museum does, the Longmont Library. So patrons of the, with the lowercase t is the appropriate name. And that was corrected on the agenda moving forward last time. Then under 5E, so the second to last sentence, Brittany reviewed one estimate for refinishing, and we'll get bids from other vendors. I believe it was the question of whether it was waxing or another suggestion by a historic restoration expert. And I think that's important to make note of, because it's not just we're gonna have the floors refinished. It's a matter of we're gonna reach out to these historic restoration experts and determine what they believe is best action for the wood floors.
So what would you like it to say?
It should include that it would be waxing or other suggestions by historic restoration experts.
Okay. All right. Any others?
And the very last is under 10, again, you need to have a conclusion. So I would say just put a comma at the end and then put include which was unanimously approved.
Any others? Can I have a motion that the minutes of the last meeting be approved as corrected.
I move the minutes of the last
Karen?
meeting.
Second, Maureen, all in favor?
I,
Motion passed. Okay, this is Maureen, and Maureen, we did take the time to go around and tell everybody a brief introduction, so we'll let you do that right here. That's okay.
Hi, I'm Raymond Troy. I've been on the board 2 terms now. I've been past chair. Yeah, I'm very excited to have all of the board. Yay, very exciting.
Great, thanks. Okay, moving on then to public invited to be heard. Well, heard from this morning. Okay, number 5, old business, digitized scrapbook.
So not too big of an update there, but we did, Rachel Moyer and I, who had kind of been working on that a little bit, did reconnect with Ian Belter, who manages the website, and he also agreed that the idea to move forward with putting the PDFs, for a little background for new folks, there are lots of scrapbooks pertaining to Callahan House that began in 1938 when the house was donated to the city from the Callahans, and the initial board was created. And so there are scrapbooks from then until now that have been kept. A lot of really cool historical stuff in there. And so the board had the idea a couple years ago to try to digitize those and get them on the website so people can enjoy them online. And so it's a very long ongoing process. And the biggest hurdle is that there was a recent, or as of I think this past summer, there was a recent law that went into effect for government websites to make sure that everything on the website is ADA accessible. So for people with low vision or people without sight, all kinds of different things that need to be on every aspect of everything that's on the website to make sure they're accessible for people. So that's been a big challenge with historic documents and all these things that are in the scrapbooks. So where we are at so far is that we've scanned the earliest scrapbook. Well, yeah, we've scanned one of the early scrapbooks. And now what we need to do is put alt text into that PDF. So Ian did confirm that we still need to do that, but it doesn't need to be like the full articles written out or anything. So he's given me some guidance, so I'm gonna go through and make my first attempt at getting the alt text in there, and then he can approve it. And then he's gonna help get those uploaded with the sort of caveat that the board will work on a project where we're trying to get maybe some theater students or maybe some journalism students, whomever from the local high schools to help turn those also into a recorded, I guess maybe an audio-visual recording of some kind that will accompany the PDFs on the website, and then also offer people the opportunity to come and see them in person, maybe with someone that can help guide them through it, so that we have all of those possible ways in which people can engage with the material. Because since they're historic documents, the law also mentions that with historic documents and things like that, any effort made to make them accessible kind of helps negate maybe some of the more stringent rules that go into that.
I'm sorry, but can I interject for just
Sure.
for a little bit? So when we first started this whole thing, it was to preserve the books. So if there was a fire or something would happen. So we initially started and we were going to try to pay for it all ourselves and try to figure out how to do the scanning. That didn't work. Then we figured out that we couldn't take the books someplace and just find a regular scanner to do it. So we had to find a historic scan one that would document the larger pages. So we thought about taking field trips down to Denver to do that. That was negated because then we couldn't do that. So then in the meantime, all this came into place. So this has been an ongoing process for years. For 5, 6 is it going at this point, because I had brought this up even before you came back on the board, Karen. So it's just one of those things that, thank you, Rudy. So anything that you're doing is just fabulous. this?
Sure. Well, and so where we're at now is to kind of go through the whole process with this first book and just see what that's like, and then ideally, all of us would take that over from anyone else in the city having to have too much hands-on with it. So, so I think where we're at with you all is the reaching out to some folks that might be interested in doing the audio visual piece. It's like we're hoping that maybe like a high school student as a senior project or something might be interested in doing that, or some volunteer hours or whatever that looks like. So that is the help that I would love from you all at this juncture, is to find some folks that could be interested in helping with the audio-visual piece, while myself and the other folks within the city work on the existing PDF, getting the alt text and getting uploaded, and then the board would jump back in to help with the scanning process after we go through the full process with that first one.
And we prefer if they're a student here within the district, St. Remy.
Probably, if we can, I'd say start there, and then we can go to Plan B if you can't find somebody, but.
That or George Vasquez.
Yeah.
Up into your mind too.
George has done
He's
stuff for years.
he was a local radio announcer. He's retired, and maybe something he'd like to do.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
Or maybe some of us would like to do it. That's an option.
Yeah, that
too.
was the first idea. So, yeah.
Yeah, George always was great at doing
Great voice.
great voice.
Yeah, is audiovisual requirement done because of the accessibility?
Well, it's sort of us trying to find another way to make them accessible, because the requirement is that we do everything we can to make them accessible, because they're historic documents. It's a little bit looser, and because the laws are so new, there's not really like very specific guidance on how do you digitize a historic scrapbook to make it ADA accessible. So we're just kind of like trying to find ways in which we are covering as many bases as we can. So the idea is that, the visual element will be on the website, and then there's an audio element as well, and then an in-person element where somebody comes with a person that can help guide them through experiencing the scrapbooks. So that's the thought, at least, if we make all of our efforts to make them accessible, that we're covering our bases, and then more people can enjoy them.
So I understand there are two components. One is just scanning everything to save the documents.
Correct.
And the other is to be able to take portions of those or whatever to put on the website, so that can be shared with.
Yeah, pretty much the idea so far is we'll see what the process is like, but yeah, in entirety to have them available.
Entirety, to be able to, for anyone, anywhere in the world, to be able to go on and access and look through.
And these are unique things. They have
Especially
they have the little lace napkins and invitations and newspaper clippings, which aren't always very
extensive.
well taken, easy to read, and
Yeah.
all of that kind of stuff. So
Does this put a stop on the process if we don't have this in place?
No, and that was something I asked Ian specifically, is like basically what we need to do is, if we're still working on the scans and getting those uploaded, and the recording process is trailing that, which it will be, as long as we have some kind of disclaimer that says like audio version coming soon, and also like for people to always be able to reach out and come to the house and experience them, that should be good. And again, this is all kind of, because Rachel had reached out to see if we could get any like really direct, advice on what to do and what needed to happen, and it just doesn't exist because the law is so new and it's all kind of open to interpretation. So this is our best efforts at making them accessible.
So you mentioned you worked on the first scrapbook.
The first scrapbook is scanned, and we ended up we're using the library to scan these in. They have really good large scale scanners there, so that's where we're scanning. So it exists in a PDF form, and the next thing for me to do is work on the alt text. And for all of us to do is work on finding some people that want to take on this volunteer project of the
So what's the magnitude of all the information and scrapbooks and things.
Mhm.
What's the kind of magnitude of?
Oh, yeah,
quantity?
good question. There are 10 or so scrapbooks that, the first one is the smallest, which is kind of what, and I say first one, it's actually was done later with some historic information from when, like the Callahan's era. So it's a lot. There's probably 50 or so pages in 10 or so scrapbooks, and a lot of little pieces, and some of them with like packets that have several pages within a page, and it's a lot. So it's yet to still be, I mean, an ongoing project probably for
Years to come.
probably, you know, but if we can, the ADA thing kind of put it on the back burner for a long time, but I think we can really make a push to dive a lot deeper into it this year than we've been able to. So yeah.
And municipalities are being sued left and right over this law previous to the new update of it too, so including Denver. So everybody's really scrambling to try to make sure their websites are ADA accessible. And so there's a lot of fear of litigation. On top of the idea of doing the right thing, which is trying to make it accessible to as many people as possible. Right, I mean that's a goal for sure, but the litigation is absolutely a factor.
But let's be clear, they've been stored here at the house for years under our table, so nobody's had access to them. So the big thing is to make sure that people understand why we're here, what we are, and they have the ability to look at them. It's the historic knowledge. I'm very, and because I kind of put forth this in the first place, I'll be a volunteer for sure, because I'm the one that started the whole ball of rolling in the snow. Sorry.
It's gonna be a cool thing. It's just gonna take a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it's fun to scan in the first one. It's kind of gets a little cathartic after a while.
Okay, so this will remain under old business
For probably a very long time, but yeah, at least we have a direction, I think. You know, it took a long time to figure out how to do this, and now we have at least a direction, and so that's great. It's further along.
Thank you.
It's also a Toastmasters, isn't there a Toastmasters
Yes.
organization? That might be something that they'd be interested in. I'll reach out to them. I think I know somebody in it.
Yeah, anybody that has potential contacts that might want to be interested in this, if you could reach out, that would
My
be
neighbor is
great.
his
Help
one
us
of his best friends.
keep on
I can
step
get his
along.
contact.
Well, there we go. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay. And then just
Right, so we'll reach out to Toastmasters.
he knows.
Okay.
Yeah, the gentleman that y'all mentioned, any
George.
contacts that
Yeah.
you have that might want to be involved, I'd say go ahead and reach out and let them know what we're trying to do and see who you can get to be involved, because the more people we have.
More the merrier.
Yeah, and you know, because some people, like, maybe somebody takes a couple scrapbooks and somebody takes a couple, you know, so trying to sit and record the whole thing might be a bit much, so.
Depends on how lethargic it is.
Yeah, no, this is, yeah, and it's completely volunteer, so make sure that they.
Yeah, we have to test them out first. Audition.
Yeah.
Okay,
So.
updated video.
Yeah. So I shared I have actually yet to watch it, but I have shared the most recent draft. When was that? A week or so ago, or I think it went out with the packet. So last week. Yeah, with the packet, there was a link to the newest draft. FYI.
Too many things going on.
So yeah.
Okay.
But so basically, we need to set a date, and for some background, for the new folks. Also, a couple of years ago, we started. Do you wanna?
Another crumb in the snowball effect. We wanted to update the video to have access so people could tour the home if they're or in the gardens, and then that they could watch it. And
There's an existing video that
there is an existing
a lot of
video
history on the house
that has a tremendous amount of history, and I wouldn't negate that and at all. It's just we wanted to make a more updated one so people could have access to it. And then I also got to be in my bonnet that I've been watching. I'm a great PBS person, and there's a program that's on all the time called the Colorado Experience, and it has a lot of historic homes and other things on it. And I reached out to PBS and asked if they would consider showing our video, and they said it was too outdated for their audience. And so I had hoped that we could get a newer video in place that we could put forth to PBS, the local station here in Denver, and have it shown on the Colorado Experience so people of the state would know what a wonderful home this is and how much history is involved in it. So we have been working on that.
The new video is not meant to replace the old one, but it's meant to sort of like complement and bring a little bit more contemporary, like I said, involve more contemporary audiences, engage those audiences. So it's more of an overview of like Callahan House and how it came to be part of the city, what we're doing with it now, things like that. So the stage that it's been filmed, and we are at maybe the third or fourth iteration of a draft.
Yeah.
And it basically third. It's basically until we are happy with all of the details of it, then it's complete. And so where we're at is that the latest draft is available, and there's a link to it in the packet that I sent everybody. So if you'll review that, and then we need to set a date for.
When should we look at the date to meet and discuss this?
Yeah, that's
Before
so.
the end of this month?
And this is basically a committee meeting, but this committee we'd like everyone to be involved with if possible. So basically we need to set a date for when everybody's available to come to the house and view the latest version together. And the expectation is to view it yourself and make some notes in it. You know, seeing it for the first time where it's at for you all. Still love your feedback. But we've seen several iterations of it, and so anyway, we just need to set a date to review the latest draft and hope that it is almost final. Like I said, I haven't actually watched it yet.
Can I make one comment? I did watch, I think it's very well done. So I'm curious what the intended audience is for the film. You mentioned
That's a very good question.
about
It's the Colorado Experience, and they have other historic homes on it, and it's through PBS. And just because we have the film doesn't mean they're going to air it. And they already have their planned viewing for this year, of course. But I would like to submit it in for the next year to possibly be shown through the state. Because the Callahans were such a big influence in this area, and people have no idea who they are and what they were. And so basically we're hoping to be a 45-minute segment type of thing and have it shown there is initially what it was. But we also want to use it within context here for our programs when we're doing tours.
We hope to
It should
share it
also
in the
be
museum
included
as
on
well.
our website.
Correct.
Yeah,
That
so
says the current.
yeah, it'll be on our website. Right now we
It's
show
pretty fun.
the existing video at open houses. And this one is less of like the deep dive into history and more of like a overall of what do we do. So it's also kind of it's a educational but also a bit of a promotional video. And we hope to show it at the museum as well, which is, they have the auditorium there.
So it's a
But we
broad
did put
audience.
together a purpose, what am I trying to say?
Like a mission for it or?
Yeah,
Vision.
an intention, I think, for it,
Yeah.
which I should have shared, so I can share that with you all.
I think it was very well done. My only initial comment was that it's 29 minutes long, and that takes a commitment to sound and watch something 29 minutes. And my thought was, is it possible to do a second version but shorter? That's maybe 10 or 15 minutes long. And it just my only watching once I think a lot of things that could be eliminated down to a shorter version, it'd still be very effective.
I think the reason for the length is for the hope to have it on the Colorado Experience and to be kind of a deeper dive. We also have, and this is more wedding focused, but there's a little snippet video also that just got posted to the website last week, maybe a week or two ago. That's like a promotional video for, mostly for weddings, but in general, like events and ways that we rent out the house, but.
I would not suggest to make it shorter, but I thought it could be a second version that's shorter.
That is a
Still
good
have the
idea.
long one, but have it, it's certainly Well, obviously less time, and I think like people like Mark Deuce go watching the
That's
city
true.
event for 29 minutes.
Because people are like,
How old is the old one? Or how old is?
The old one is 30 minutes.
Okay.
Which one?
The old one is about 45 minutes.
Okay, I was thinking it was a little longer.
So,
Excellent, and yes, we should.
yeah, maybe 10 minutes or something would be like a good.
to keep the attention span
Keep the
of
attention span.
the
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
of a younger generation, I hate to say, but
Just the speed of everything nowadays, it's, if you can't capture something
Yeah.
inside.
And that would probably, there would probably be an
Small
additional
window.
cost for that since it's outside the scope of the original project. But it's,
And it'll be an end of the year, we can
look into, yeah.
and how much more is it, yeah, that's the whole thing, how do we wanna
Mhm.
close the book on this and move forward?
Yeah,
Well, when should
And
we?
I don't know,
the next
potentially-
meeting? I think
Yeah.
that's probably what we should focus on,
Yeah.
except.
potentially if we get the rights to that, maybe LPM could help us with an edited version.
You're right.
Okay.
Because
Alright.
that was the goal, to have the rights to do that,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay, so that said, obviously we wanna review it as soon as we can. What does next week look like for everyone?
This is such a bigger group to schedule.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and we'll try to get everyone we can, and I was maybe gonna extend an invite to Karen Reed also, since she's been part of, if she's interested in.
As soon as she's in it, yeah.
She's in it, yeah. So let's see, the house is open on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday afternoon, Friday, anything but Wednesday really, unless we need to look further out, but depending on people's schedules,
Any day but Wednesday is what you said.
pretty much.
So Thursday afternoon sounds preferable.
Thursday's good for me.
Tuesday afternoon would work for me.
I don't have a day next week that's good
Even
for
though
me.
it's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
How does that work for?
Cindy?
How late in the afternoon would it be?
Well, we can start as early as noon-ish. Or maybe we wanna start after lunch so that.
That's 12:30.
Sure.
Yeah, I can make it.
12:30. Does
On
does that
Thursday.
work for everybody else?
Thursday.
This is how we schedule.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is this for the whole board too?
If
you can.
You can,
If you're-
yeah, it's a
Like
committee meeting,
yes.
so it's not required, but,
It's
but
helpful.
we wanna get anybody that we can.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's not a select group or?
Yeah.
No.
And then
It's
Diana, if you
inclusive
have
of
any notes that
everybody.
you wanna send to me,
Okay.
feel free to
Thursday.
email.
Yes,
16th.
Thursday the
Anything over.
16th.
Okay.
And then if not, hopefully we'll catch you on the next one, if there is a next one, I imagine.
There's gotta be a final one.
Yes.
It's final showing where
Yes.
there's no more copies.
Yes.
At some point, and then we'll celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what is that, the 16th? At 12:30. So, and then for committee meetings, yeah, 2 hours. And then for committee meetings, I would send out a calendar invite, so I'll send that out and I'll add the intention with it so that you have that, because we put that together at the first viewing.
Okay, so 16th at 12:30. Alrighty, so moving on then, patrons of the Callahan House. Karen, you wanna,
Yeah, have
Make
that date.
Did everybody get the like reformatted version with the packet? That was also sent with the packet.
Yes.
It was just with the edits that we talked about and reformatting with the city or with the logos and whatnot.
So for this, I think, so I lead this project, but everybody is inclusive, anyone on the board, everyone on the board who wants to be part of it. It is a donor program, it's new.
So it's not in this printed
Designed
package today?
It's in your binders though for the new business.
oh,
Is it
I don't have it because
It's not in the packet though.
Oh, I printed it
Because I
off.
read it.
Okay.
I read it
on
online.
email to us, it's not.
Yeah, it wasn't part of the packet, it was an additional segment. I felt like it had
That's it right
been in the
there.
packet enough times.
Was it in November?
It's been in just about.
I think it was November.
It's been-
Yeah, which is why I didn't
But
include it,
this
yeah.
is the most recent one, but it was, in the packet, which we emailed to everyone. I can share mine.
Got
So basically, this is a new program, it's a donor program, it will be an annual program. And our objective is to raise funds for the benefit of Callahan House, specifically for restoration and preservation of the house. That's not something that's part of the city's budget, it never has been, so it's always rested on board for fundraising for these types of projects. Anyway, this program, the first page of it is the outline. That's just for all of us to be able to be aware of what our goals are, what the donor levels are, both individual, family, and the organization. That it's an annual thing, what the benefits are to the donor, and how outreach and advertising. We're going to strategize outreach and advertising. The next couple of pages, you have two different letters. One is intended for individuals and families, the other is intended for companies and organizations. So we are doing a wide reach to the community and beyond for those who are interested in historic restoration and preservation, and specifically for the benefit of the Callahan House. So these are the letters that were originally drafted, and we'll discuss at the next committee meeting to make sure we are set with them before we roll it out. That the program is set to roll out this spring so that we can promote this going forward. I do think we need to add that the mailing address and phone number at the bottom of each of the letters. So I see that you added the Callahan.
Yeah, I took that out because we want to encourage people to, we want it to be an online process is what we had talked about.
I know, but it's typical for any professional communications that a mailing address and a phone number are appropriate. So I think it's necessary to keep that on, but we'll talk more about that in the meeting.
Okay. I think, does it say that, like, if you have questions to email?
It talks about, yes, it talks about to submit the form to via email, so the email is there.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the physical address and phone number. That's typical business.
Yeah, so we choose to use.
Yes, so, and I just want to make sure that we are not excluding anyone who prefers US made or phone call.
Stand
So-
down.
So
Some
we'll
people
be
like
adding
that
that probably, but.
So I'll
we'll talk about that in our
submit it by
task meeting.
email, but we can put the.
Just in the footnote,
Yeah.
Yeah, just as a normal letter. All right, and then on the last page, this is the patrons of the Callahan House. This is the donor program, the donor information form. I see that, I don't know, it must have been in formatting or something, Brittany, but you've got at the top, Callahan House donor program and the donor.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Last page,
Oh.
the donor information form. It,
Oh.
that needs to go down here. Somehow I think in formatting.
What's that?
Okay.
It's just, this is the donor information form.
Donor.
So donor just needs
Oh,
to
okay.
get moved back down to that second line, because that's what it was, that seems, I'm sure it was just formatting thing. And then in the addition of the language regarding tax deductible, I think this is good that you added, your donation may be deductible, we need to add in tax. So your donation may be tax deductible.
Okay.
And then I would say, please consult, not refer to, please consult your tax advisor, because that's really more appropriate language
That's a different
that is
version.
used. It's not.
Did you get on this?
We don't have to.
You don't have what? Okay, so this is the one I printed off that was in the packet that Brittany emailed to everyone. So
I made
somehow, yes,
Sorry about that.
what's there.
Well, it's in your email.
But nonetheless, we'll go through all of this again and update as needed a little further in the committee meeting. So that said,
So I'll make those changes and send to
make the changes and then have them
everyone,
for,
and
yeah,
then you'll have it for
for the committee meeting, yeah.
Okay.
So then, next,
Oh, hold on a second. Can I just wanted to ask, other forms that I've seen like this, so it says, please select the preferred patron level. Is there a way to put like a little box in front of each of those and then they would check the box?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then also I noticed
Yeah.
it doesn't say how to make your payment. I mean, the letter says to, I guess, print out the form.
We're trying to do.
You're gonna have a link, because I remember.
It just
I
doesn't
linked-
say how to do it though, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
So
Yeah,
this
there
form
should be
should
a-
say how you make your payment.
yeah, we're still working on getting this process to actually be available online, but it should say like, there should be instructions on how to do that.
So those
A
are the only two
one-time
things that have
gift
those
or
little
monthly
boxes.
or-
Sometimes when you look at it over and over again, you miss the
Which is
simple.
why several eyes help.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
all right,
perfect.
so our
Thank you.
next thing that we need to do is set the next committee meeting for this. So, and that again is inclusive, everyone, so anyone and everyone to be
Do
participating
we wanna
in
knock
this.
out two birds at one stone?
We could, it's up to you all. Do we want to piggyback off of the Thursday, the 16th? That's already a 2-hour block to be looking at the video and then take a break and then get to working on this. Give
And
it
what will
an
we be
hour.
doing?
Going through it, doing any more fine tuning such as any other things that have not yet been caught or any other suggestions to further improve the form or clarify the language in the letters, anything we need to do specifically regarding these forms. So, and then discussing how we're going to be rolling out the program in the spring.
How long of the meeting do you think? An hour?
I'm going to try and be concise enough to make it an hour.
And the video might not take 2 hours,
Okay.
where we're at with it now, I think the last time
We
An
buzzed
hour.
through it pretty
yeah, so maybe we can
fast.
set an hour and a half for the video and an hour for
Could we just piggyback?
patrons if you
Yes,
want to do that.
if that's acceptable to everyone, then let's do that. Okay, we'll be immediately following the video meeting. We'll take a break in between the two, of course.
So at that point, we can also discuss the rollout date or event that we wanna
Yes.
do this?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the objective.
Okay. Anything else? All right, next item, holiday decorating.
We're already talking about it, I can.
There were a lot of ideas, but no final.
I know, we have a lot of ideas, so what I'd like to propose is that maybe we do like a subcommittee, 2 or 3 of us that are really interested in this, we have a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe, and we had suggested some ideas already, and maybe just make a little subcommittee of 2 or 3 of us that wanna work on this. There's no pressing matter right at the moment to do this. We're looking at trying to decorate the tree upstairs more in a child-friendly kind of thing, but keep it in still in the era of the house. And so we have lots of ideas, and I think some of us are just ready to kind of refresh these trees and do them a little differently or add more trees or whatever it might be.
Well,
But
I think it's important that we keep on having interest, that people want to come back and see the
Uh-huh,
trees, and that
exactly.
we're doing it as something different, and if they see the same trees year after year, they're not gonna wanna do that. So I think it's important that we continue to refresh and have ideas on that. Is this something that we,
I believe this is gonna be something that's gonna be part of our 2025 calendar of events and then eventually the formation of the committee, so if we can.
right, but what I just wanted to say that maybe 2 or 3 of us could be meeting separately and calling each other, whatever, and making notes and coming up with some ideas to present in the first place. Because we don't have to make any decisions now, but
Yeah.
yeah, so like along about June or July, we say, okay, now we have to definitely decide how we're decorating.
so maybe when we talk about the
Calendar
coming
events.
calendar, we can set that up.
Yeah.
Christmas in
And I
July.
volunteer to be on that committee, so.
So do we
I
wanna
already have.
move that item to a
To the
future
calendar.
It should
agenda
be
for,
future on the calendar.
okay. For what month?
July.
Yeah.
And we can remember
I mean, yeah,
Christmas in
probably.
July.
Christmas in July.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And so who all is on that committee then?
So I volunteered, Maureen,
I'll search it.
Okay.
Because I've got all
anybody else?
kids.
Okay. Well, you can always add people to it later.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody that feels
All
strongly.
ideas are welcome.
Yes, that's the whole point, anyone is
Yeah.
included.
Okay.
So just a question, say like this committee, and if one of us knows someone outside who might be very interested or experienced in suggestions on a tree, can someone be invited to that group?
I don't see any reason why not. It's
It'd
kind
be-
of similar
yeah, it's
as
a
public
volunteer
advisory.
basis,
It's
like
just
public.
like, and
Yeah.
I think that, outside opinion is always helpful.
Yes.
Like
For
Connie, like
extra
Connie.
hands.
Connie,
Yeah.
Connie
Yes,
will
like-
help with things from time to time.
You know,
Yeah,
in-
Connie
any,
comes in and helps.
You know,
Yeah.
citizen.
Volunteers are always welcome, and we have people always
Citizens.
interested in that. Unfortunately, we don't always have a lot of opportunity for it, so I think
This might be a
would
good
be a good one, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who like to come and help decorate too.
Yeah.
Volunteer. Okay, moving on, future restoration preservation.
So I had reached out to Spectrum and White for quotes for some of the general stuff that we had, for the repointing specifically, because we have the quote from Empire. So what we're working on there's a list in your new binders. It's kind of an ongoing restoration living document that's, preservation and restoration is always an ongoing thing at Callahan House. So what we're working on right now, the repointing of the exterior of the brick. And so we have an existing quote from Empire, who did the big restoration project for us 2 summers ago. And so we work with them on a lot of things, and they're also, I know, right? And they also are gonna be doing some restoration on the upstairs woodwork, soon. Wall and woodwork, on the upper floor. So anyway, they've done a lot of restoration and preservation projects for us. But so how the city works with those kinds of things is if the quote for the project is over $10,000, we need to get 3 quotes and compare, and there's a process there. So the quote from Empire for repointing of the exterior brickwork of the house where needed and the auto house was over $10,000. So I reached out to 2 other companies to submit bids for that. Haven't heard anything. It's been a while, so I'll need to follow up with them and see if they want to bid. And then if we do reach out and don't get 3 bids, can we move forward with the one, or do we need to?
You just stop with purchasing, but yes.
Okay. So that's where that part of the project, and then the upstairs is going on, and then the dining room, Karen.
I have an update to share with you.
Great.
So this will, and the reason this did not go out in the packet is I did not have it, by that time. Actually, I have them I think I just have them for board members and, Brittany, I'm sorry, Betty. So can you look on,
Looks pretty.
anyone who has it on, please.
I'm sure you want to.
Because it's me printing it, and I'm like, I have you guys, and one house manager, so I'm going to just say. All right, now, this is 2-sided, the first page, the difference between, there's a page 1 at the bottom, and then there's page 2 at the bottom of the other one. The only difference between them is this. With respect to this table, the way it is right now, the way it was designed and how it is authentic and original, is that the leaves are not skirted. Do you see the little lip, the little skirting around the ends of the table, wherein the leaves do not have skirting? Now, what's beautiful about that is it shows how things were built in the early 1900s. So the integrity is intact. This shows restoration of all 7 leaves, the 3 that you see here and the other 4, as is, not additional skirting. Now, if we wanted to add skirting for aesthetic, then it would just basically be another $250, because basically what you would do is take cortisone oak and create a skirt that would go on the leaves that is not ornate in the design, but just more in line with the look. Now, I brought both of these options to you all because this is a board decision. I can share with you my personal thoughts, and I think if it's okay with you, and I would like to share that. I do think that there's something really quite special with maintaining the integrity of something original. And so, while today we have table leaves that are skirted, and of course they look beautiful when they're put in, and everything looks so uniform, it is not how things were done in Arlington Heights. And so, for that reason, I would suggest that we keep things original and that we do not skirt the leaves, and so that we have the beautiful integrity of the table preserved.
And there's also at least three, four,
There are
five
four
more
more
leaves. Yeah.
So a total of 7 leaves. Then you see 3 here. There are 4 more in here, and he'll do all of that.
Yeah.
This is
These pieces. Yeah.
yes, and so what you see, line item 1, that's taking care of the table and the leaves. So that's 3,200. Then taking care of and doing the chairs, and that's all of the chairs and including those with the sidearms and reupholstering. And that, I think the reupholstering is really a significant cost. You know, it's going to take 4 hides of leather.
But also one of our most important pieces is
So yes,
the labor.
So the
So
leather, but
really
the
bad.
leather. So the cost of restoring the chairs is significant, $17,960. However, you do that once in how many years?
Has it ever been
it is-
redone? Do we
No.
know?
No.
Okay.
Never. So this is a cost that's worth investing and following through and doing.
And we've also
3,200 is for what?
The table, and as you see, item number 1 is refinish the split pedestal round oak table with the set of leaves. So that's the table and all 7 leaves. The second item is the chairs, all the chairs, including the reupholstery. And, you know, as you can see, just any wear that you'll see on any of these. You'll be
Yeah, that's
stored,
probably the worst
one. This is a good example.
Yeah.
So any wear and dings and things that you'll see from the wood will be really properly cared for and refinished. And then of course, now all the brass will still be reused. So that's beautiful. It's maintaining that integrity. But then replacing the leather is going to be expensive.
And keeping in mind that, and it won't be anywhere near this cost, but we have a couple of Questers organizations
Yes.
that are interested in raising money for this project. I don't think this, even with a couple chapters, was probably what they.
Actually, we have a budget, not just with a couple chapters, but within the state.
Okay.
We have the national organization that we can also reach out to. I'm going to put forth this to our chapter tomorrow at the meeting, and then I'll also put forth this to the state president so they're aware. We could make this as a state president type of program where we want to work on this. I, again, cannot guarantee funds, but I can put forth
Maybe some offsetting.
that we have a fair chunk of change that we can actually put forth. You know, as people may or may not be aware, that's what Questers do. Questers,
Maureen serves in Questers. I don't know.
yes. So I'm gonna let me just quickly state what Questers is. Questers is a longstanding women's organization that does education and restoration. And we meet and we have local chapters and we meet and we have collections and various things. But our main goal and purpose is to collect funds for historical preservation and restoration. And we have done that with the historic Stanley Home. We've done it with the museum in Berthoud. We have various different things that we've donated to over years. Callahan House being one of them.
Your chapter meets here as
Yeah.
one of our clubs.
And so this is something that we wanted to do and take on, and now that we have a quote, I have numbers that I can take back to them. So let's not have a complete hyperventilating moment about the cost quite yet. Let's see what we can come up with. I cannot guarantee that they'll cover everything, but we will try the best we can. I know that they have taken on several buildings and other things that have been higher cost than this. So, I'm just gonna put that out there. And I also am also gonna reiterate with, that I agree with Karen about not doing the skirting. I think the whole point is to keep it historically accurate and not reimpose, what we think is good looking nowadays, but really keep it to what is historically accurate. And to put the additional pieces would be, redoing and
You're altering
you're altering
something. It's
or
already
something. So
The other sorry.
If I may just finish out the last, few items, is that the line 93 is the refinish that oak sideboard with ribbons. That would be this. And so that's $38.50. And then refinish the oak server, which is the one over there, and that's listed as $3,200.
These are original to the Callahan.
These.
The original house.
Yes.
All of this is,
So
yeah.
So all of this is, it has never been restored. It has never been cared for. So it's due, and it's worthwhile to spend this kind of money doing so. He does do pickup and delivery, as you'll see, which is fantastic. So I'll charge $500 for that. He has been restoring things for over 30 years. This is his love, his focus, his passion. He's close enough in location that he's in Windsor. I did everything to try to find someone in Longmont, and even London.
nobody exists anymore.
It's just tough.
People have retired.
People like this
Right.
are hard to find, and so I was really pleased to find him, and he's wonderful, and he did say he would be willing to take on this project and beginning this year, so.
Did he give you a timeline on how long this would take?
No.
So I'll have to figure out a
We will
timeline.
need to learn about that.
This room.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Which
Or
is
just
doable
yeah.
because we have other tables that.
Yeah, but people would have to be okay with, for a private rental, not,
Mhm.
so we'd have to
We
find a
do have
timeline
other
to do
tables
that.
to use in here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Table
6
cloths
foot
can be
plastic
wonder.
tablecloths.
Well, that is where you could to even have like, the round tables, the large round tables that you
Yeah.
purchase for events,
Oh, okay.
for outdoors, those could be used in here as well. So there are options.
Yeah, we just need to
Yeah.
find a
People,
time.
But
We
if
don't
he
wanna do it in
would
the
be
middle of
focused
summer.
on
brides
this
need to be
and
aware.
Yes.
he would be focused on this and it would not be like in conjunction with other things. He would be
Prioritize.
prioritizing,
Cool.
working, through this to complete it.
But yeah, a timeline would be helpful so that we
I can
know
ask him.
when would be best for us to fit it in.
And I can ask him.
Thank you, Karen, for doing this. This is
Quick
huge.
question, this all refers to refinishing, has anybody looked at the furniture to see if it needs any repair?
That's what he would be doing too.
Okay.
Yeah.
He lists the refinish, but
I know there is some
Sparrow
needed
and
on the
he
bottom of
does,
the too.
yeah.
Or somebody's
Yes.
chair or not,
No,
maybe he
I
would
took
repair.
I took pictures of everything and provide that to him, showing him all the damages, and he said, yes, that's no problem. Restoring
So he can restore as
is
well.
also refinishing, so it is not just refinishing, he's restoring. So he's a wonderful person. He was simple with his wording here, but it is restoring.
These costs actually seem, to me, extremely reasonable
I think so too.
for the work that's gonna be done and what the end is gonna look like. If anybody's ever had anything restored or refinished or reupholstered, this seems
I'm just
amazing.
thinking, I'm just thinking of 2 chairs that the state president had as her priority project, and it was just 2 chairs, and it's So I'm just gonna say this is very reasonable in my head.
Thank you, Karen, for doing all that legwork and
Yes,
all that
thank you.
information. That's awesome. So again, we will add that to the agenda for next month.
Yes.
And then you have more of a time frame.
Time frame.
Okay, awesome. Okay,
Alright, sorry, I just have a quick
Anything
question,
else?
I guess we can talk about it, but, so, do we need to get multiple quotes on this if it's funded by,
An outside source
or partially
I would think,
funded
the partial almost assuredly,
Okay.
if it's completely funded by an outside source, probably not, but talk with Pam.
by? Okay.
just to verify, I'm gonna go try to go for the full amount and we'll go on there.
Okay.
Thanks for the question.
You're doing what, Maureen?
I'm gonna try to go for the full amount.
Okay.
Recover
Thanks, Maureen.
everything. We'll see
Go
what
for
we
it.
can. The grant money's there.
Yeah.
If
or
it funded
it's-
enough that it was under
Yeah.
10, we'll have to
And if
find
we
that
need
out.
to give
but-
any kind of presentation, I'm
Will
happy
do.
to help.
I know who to contact.
You do know.
Have you on speed dial?
Okay. All right, next item is holiday open house debrief. Brittany?
Yeah, it seems like forever ago now, but so the last open house was on 12/12, and that was just the holiday decor, not the Santa visit. And so after every open house, we just like to kind of share numbers, and I keep all of this information in a spreadsheet so we can compare from year to year. But we had 345 people visit for the holiday open house, which is great. We had just over 400 last year, but last year we had just finished the restoration project, and so there was several news articles about that in all the local papers and stuff, and so we had a lot more people, but 345 is awesome for just like our normal avenues of marketing that event. So.
There wasn't any time change really. We did it during the middle of the week like we did the last one,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
And it was the same time in between the holiday stuff down at the park and the
Mhm.
stuff going on.
yeah, it was the weekend of lights, or
But not
the Thursday
conflicting with
before
those.
lights.
But
Yeah.
not conflicting with those activities.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was awesome. And Times Call did pick up. I think they had a snippet about it. They said they were going to, but otherwise it was the usual marketing that we use. So that was a great turnout, I think, for that event. It was 3 hours long. The first hour was 200 people. The second hour was 112, and the third hour was 33. Which we've seen this year is like that third hour is always real slow in comparison. So I think we were talking about some of the changing, like not the art walk and not Santa, but the other open houses to probably just be 2 hours for this year. We made $173 in cash donations. We had the pianist here, which was really
That's
cool.
nice.
Yeah. We paid them $100, so it's still, that turned a small donation profit for that event. We also sold one piece of artwork for $45, which goes to the donations fund. And we got 44 new signups for our email blast. So
Any
that was
idea how many of those we have now? A list?
How
many people?
Over 200, somewhere between 200 and 300.
And
That's
then
really great. You
How many
started
signed
last
up for
year.
the
Yeah.
email?
44. So yeah, that was all good things.
Great. Any questions? It always amazes me how many people show up and how few people I know. I knew 3 this time. And it's just, and you ask them, have you been here before?
Yeah.
No, our first time. It's just amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah, lots of people are like, I've lived here for my whole life for 30 years and I've never been inside.
Yeah.
Keep hearing that. Hearing it less though, which is good. Just means we're getting the word out. And along with those numbers, I did want to share that in 2024 we had 5,271 visits to Callahan House, compared to last year was 3,604. So that's a pretty significant increase in just getting people
That's
in the door and experiencing the house and what we're doing here. So I thought that was pretty cool.
5,000 what?
5,271 in 2024 and 3,604 in 2023. So keep in mind, we were closed in August, or was that last year? Was that the year before? That was last year. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 2023 we were closed in August, so that affects the numbers a bit, but it's still pretty
Very.
cool increase. So it's exciting.
Okay, moving on to the 2024 annual report. Karen Reed prepared.
So this version, sorry, Katie, I'm not gonna help you. This version is with some edits that I had put in and sent out to everybody, and I think Karen is basically just waiting if anybody has any more edits that they should send that to her and I think at this point. So, and obviously the numbers still need to be added once that is available, probably not till maybe February, but.
The only thing I noticed was on the second page of the report under Callahan usage 2024 overview. In the second bullet point, it talked about the holiday open house, third sentence on December 12th. It says artwork of the Callahan House, should that be two different words? The artwork is what we
Yeah.
were selling
Yeah.
along with the books. I we're so used to putting art walk together.
Right.
Becomes second nature almost, but hard work. So it's good point though.
Good catch.
Did you read this? No. Okay, I do have some suggested changes to share. So starting on the first page, thing for just kind of consistency purposes, we'll perhaps list the officers. So we've got Karen Reed, and then we've got as chair, Sadie Martini, secretary. Probably need to list
Secretaries all in a row.
the historian next, and then Maureen and Candy Shy, just out of kind of typical business practice.
Alphabetically. I've
And-
noticed that
and-
several,
And alphabetical.
yeah, there needs
so-
to be a clarification of that the names should be listed alphabetically. Officers first.
Officers first and then alphabetical.
Last name, yeah.
Officers first alphabetically or?
Officers
Chair.
first as chair, secretary, historian, and then all
Then
the board
and then
members
remaining
in
board members should
last
be
name
alphabetical.
alphabetical.
You know, if you're just listing board members, it's alphabetical.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
last name alphabetical.
I noticed that, I took a double second check that I'm like historian, and then, so, yeah, it would just look
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. So next thing I would suggest is we may want to move on the last page, the logo to the bottom of the first page, as it's new, and it kind of more ties into the cover page of the report. Because at the end, you need to add back in there the mission statement at the end, which is always normally included under the signature line. So if we can put the logo on the front page bottom, and then on the bottom of that last page, add the mission statement again. That's always there underneath the signature lines to
Yes.
preserve, maintain, and promote the gift of the historic Callahan House for the use and enjoyment of the Longmont community, creating memories and providing a legacy for the future. That's
Do we have it?
our
anywhere?
mission statement. It's not on this, and it
Okay.
should be. So
Okay.
it's always been
It's always
underneath the
been
signature
there
block.
before.
We just need to put it back on there.
I take it this is a formatted kind of thing that the
Yeah.
president just,
Yeah, so last year we submitted it to someone within marketing within the city to reformat it. And then I provided last year's to Karen and she worked for that. So, yeah.
To make it easier.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you just got
Makes a lot easier.
you just have to wing it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and that's not. And honestly, I don't mind that the Callahan House logo would be in two places, quite frankly. The more
The
we
beginning
promote,
and the end.
the beginning and the end, it seems
It's
like
fine if
we're-
there's space, but
If
if
there's
it's
not
crunching
space-
the mission statement, I'd rather it just
I
be on
agree.
the front.
It can be mission
Logo can
statement
be whatever
is
size, it
very
can be much smaller.
Yeah,
important.
mission statement more important than the logo. Okay. On the second page, or actually the first of the reports, so the text one and the second page. The chart needs to be labeled correctly. In past years, and instead of having, you've got Callahan House usage and then you have house usage. It just should be the Callahan House usage right there. That is what that chart is labeled, and that's what that chart's about. That's the content of that chart. So, just Callahan House usage right here. And then the same goes with the house fund. The Callahan House fund always goes just right here over the chart of what is the Callahan House fund. So what you see there should
Got it.
typically be
Got it?
that, and what you see there should be that. And so, that's a standard format that we've used and should continue to use so that it's consistent from prior
Past
years and going forward. I know that you mentioned we still need, financials for 2024. But we do have numbers for, usage for,
Yeah, I just have,
right? You just don't have them in there yet.
I just
Okay.
have them in.
All right. Then the next thing is at the bottom of that page in the last bullet point. We have the QR code remains posted outside each of the exterior doors. I think for clarification, we should include under the veranda on the west and south sides. Because as it reads, it can be a bit confusing. I think it's important to state that those are under the veranda on the west and south sides.
Instead of each of the exterior doors.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's actually just.
It is.
right
It
here.
is posted each of the exterior
Did it get
doors
removed
under
from
the
front door?
veranda
Maybe.
on the west, which is the front door,
So it's right
and the
outside,
south,
but-
which is this one right off of the music room. So it's posted both places. That's for clarification. Then on page 3, we do need to add rental rates for events back in the list, because rental rates for events, along with club dues, identifying that they have either remained the same as 2023 or they have increased, whatever they may be, we need to include that in this bullet point list, because that is standard. So where we have,
You know,
rates for
overview,
clubs.
but on page 3.
Yes, because where you have rates for clubs, we've typically also then, under that, put rental rates for events, because they're different, obviously. But we always identify and share with city council,
That's one of the questions they'll ask.
What's going on with the pricing of the house. So we need to add rental rates back in there.
To do some blurb about whether or not they increased and then a chart that shows what they are.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We may want to, for consistency, add periods, and this is my editor's hat on, for the, at the bottom, at the ends of each of the bullet points from that point on, because they don't have periods at the conclusion of each of those. So, because you either have periods in your list or you don't. Prior to, we've got periods everywhere, so it's consistent. Let's see, develop patrons of, let's lowercase that t in the Callahan House. And I would add a comma after Callahan House, and then I would state an annual donor program, period. So that clarifies what patrons of the Callahan House, comma, an annual donor program. So develop patrons of the Callahan House, comma, an annual donor program. That clarifies what that is. So wait, see, what is that? What's that program? Right beneath that bullet point, instead of the word saw, I think reviewed is a more appropriate word. Reviewed new branding for Callahan House. That is what the board did, they reviewed the new branding developed by Rachel Moyer. Again, kind of at the end of that one. And then, of course, a period at the end of the last bullet point as well. So that's that. Going down to the 2024 events. Because the words and the open house events described above are included in the along with the monthly ladies club meetings, we should go ahead and remove club affair and art walk, because those are two of the open house events described above. So we don't want to make it redundant in our list, especially along with the ladies clubs and the other open house events that are described above. We have these things happen. So club affair and art walk, they need to be removed from the list because they are addressed
Already.
Yeah, club affair and art walk. Club affair and art walk are listed under the 2024 overview, and so we don't need it in the list of events.
I'm not familiar, but is there any problem duplicating here again, so this list is complete?
Well, if you're gonna go in that direction, then you kind of need to go and add a whole lot more, and it makes the list longer. And since it's already included in the
Right there, right.
yeah, since it's already included in open house events, and we've kind of Just throw that there.
Here's,
Don't wanna be redundant and don't wanna add text to what the city council is gonna already be like, I don't wanna read someplace.
Yes and no. I kind of disagree because I think we can highlight it because this is one of those things that for the club affair, I definitely went in front of city council and asked people to go. And Art Walk is one of those downtown events that is really, it's a jewel and we wanna, if we highlight it more than once, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I agree.
I think if we just change the language here, because in the overview, give providing a little more detail about those annual events and special events, I think if we just take out that sentence maybe.
Take out the
Just take out
described
the and.
above.
Well,
Yeah,
just
along
take
with
out
monthly ladies clubs meetings,
Just
the
take out the
following is a
and
list
there.
of blah, 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 yeah.
And the open house events described above, just
Yeah.
take that out.
If you do that, then
Yeah.
Then
that
leave,
would be,
then leave it, then leave
Yeah.
the club affair not work on the list, it's fine.
because those are highlights that we really wanna prove that we are a benefit.
And it popped out here more so than it did.
In the
In the
paragraph.
It kind of blended.
Well, then, yeah, then removal of that phrase and that removal of that sentence works and then leave them on.
Thank you.
Did we have an Easter egg hunt
Have what?
in 2024?
The Easter
Did we
egg.
have an Easter egg hunt? Oh, okay. I was like,
It's a private rental, but same as
Ah,
a lot
okay.
of these that are
Okay.
listed, but yeah, she's
Okay.
done it annually and they just booked again for this year,
okay.
so.
But that's great, then people can think about it. That's, I love it.
Then in maintenance, under maintenance, did we have an inspection of the oven and inspection of the kitchen? I think that should be added back in under maintenance because that did happen and that was important. It was a fire concern that we all had raised and so there was a full appropriate inspection of the new oven and the kitchen. So that needs to be added
People are
back
aware.
under maintenance, yes. Everyone's paying attention, we're all paying attention, safety. Then under the second bullet point, I would add in the word garden before the word events. So new tables and chairs for garden events were purchased. And then that is consistent with what the next bullet point is, a shed for storage of the new tables and chairs for garden events was installed.
But are the tables and chairs only gonna be used for garden events or could they be used for other
Technically,
things?
yes.
No, those are
Really?
Yeah.
Just wanted to
Yeah.
reiterate
Yeah.
that, that's clarification point.
And then under the bullet point, heavy draperies and balances were not altered, they were removed. We completely removed them to allow light to come in
To showcase the windows.
of the leaded glass windows and the curved library windows.
That was the first thing we noticed when we came into Playbridge after that was
How
done.
much
It was
brighter
like,
and
wow.
lighter and everything was
It's lovely.
So, yeah, they weren't altered, they were removed, so let's change that word. Then the UV protected film was added to the south and west facing, rather than storm, the word storm, it's tempered protective glass windows that's out there. So storm windows gives it kind of sounds like they are temporary and removable or seasonal or something like that. And the glass that's out there, that's tempered glass, it's tempered protective glass. So I don't want to give the wrong impression that it's a storm window.
That was the language that's been used during the restoration process and that Empire refers to them as. I think we could edit it to say like,
It's tempered glass.
say tempered.
I think if we say
Tempered
tempered
glass storm
protective glass.
windows. I mean, they
Yeah.
are storm windows.
Okay, then tempered glass protective storm windows.
Okay.
Tempered glass protective storm windows. I think that's appropriate, so it clarifies what that is.
I have to leave. I lost a crown last night, so I have an emergency dentist appointment. So I'm sorry I keep repeating this. I'll see you guys at the next meeting.
Hopefully they will.
Sorry for me.
Then the bottom bullet point, that Callahan's, this is looking like it's, perhaps we need to make that possessive plural. So the it needs to go after that S.
Mhm.
So let's make that quick change because it's the Callahan's original Steinway, not an individual plural. Was this done in 2024?
It's done annually.
Okay.
It was done in January.
Okay. And then I do think we need to add back in that the board continues to review and advise regarding the schedule of general maintenance. That's in the past.
It's on the next
It's
paragraph under restoration and preservation.
no, it's different. That's restoration and preservation, which needs to be there. But there is a separate bullet point that needs to continue to be included in here. It was in the last report as well, basically, that the
Under maintenance.
it's under maintenance. It's specifically under maintenance, but it's the language that specifically says the board continues to review and advise regarding the schedule of general maintenance. So that bullet point needs to be back in there. If you need the language again, I can get it, but it's in the prior report, so.
Regarding scheduled maintenance.
Yes, because
That's something we do.
it is something we do. It's part of what we're overseeing.
So a lot of these things are just standard bullet points that
Yeah.
stay.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
Lawson's got residence report and it looks a lot different.
Then, of course, in the goals, we need periods at the closure of each bullet point item. So let's make sure we do that. And then this somehow got dropped off, but needs to be re-added on the last bullet point. It does say pursue funding for continued and future restoration and preservation projects. There needs to be a semicolon there because it continues. The rest of the language is proper historic preservation and maintenance of the Callahan House is of utmost importance. That's what was on the prior report as well. We need to be consistent.
And that's continuation from reports to
Yes.
back.
Yes.
So
It is
that's one of those things that,
It is, yes, it
A
is true and
continuance.
consistent with the activity of this board and continues to happen. And
Yes, proper historic restoration of Callahan House is of utmost importance.
proper historic preservation and maintenance of Callahan House.
Preservation, restoration
Yes,
and preservation.
Proper historic preservation and maintenance of the Callahan House is of utmost importance.
and to be honest, I'm laughing because you're saying that it's been a while since you've done a report, Candy, but we took a lot of this wording from your alert report that you've done so many years ago. So this is actually a continuation of the reports that have been prior. So I think it's very, with additions, but that's one of those things that.
You said it's a semicolon.
It's a semicolon. Proper historic preservation and maintenance of Callahan House is of utmost importance.
Okay. More?
That is everything. You know what?
And then does anybody else have submissions
I'm
that they
thorough.
want to submit, or can we call this complete other than the numbers?
I think
So
we
that
should look at it one
Karen
last
knows if
time.
she's,
Yeah, I think
It's the numbers.
revise it,
sure,
look at
But-
it one more time to make sure
but
we've got
Karen's not
everything
waiting on
right.
any other additions
No.
from anybody, okay.
Okay.
And honestly, the corrections that Karen suggested is what I would have said is in that first line there, and Candy also agreed. So, yeah, I think the numbers and hopefully we'll see Karen again and can thank her for all her work, and as always, thank you for all your work.
Sure.
Okay, so we bring this back on the agenda for old business.
Correct.
Next.
So then I'll figure out when it's due to council and then we need to get the numbers and all of that, so.
Okay.
And is it gonna be submitted to council, or are they gonna want a presentation? That's one of the other
It
questions.
gets submitted and they, typically
If
I
they
think they
choose.
kind of read it on their own, and if they choose to, if anybody has questions about it during the council meetings, they'll bring it up, otherwise they'll just mention it as a agenda item and.
I think it would be important, again, there are people out there that watch the meetings regularly, and while we have a full board now, we don't always, and I think it's important if we know when it is on the agenda, that we're aware of it, so.
Yeah, that's also my share.
Okay, restricted areas, encampment litigation.
Sorry, just finishing up a note here.
And I need help with filling in any blanks if I went too fast.
No, you're good. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I think there's not really an update right now. The superintendent, is that his title, of parks, is no longer with the city as of this year. He's moving on to,
December 31st.
yeah, so that put a bit of a hold on things, but Ben and I actually do have a meeting with the parks team tomorrow morning. So we'll learn some more about what the parks budget is and what that for 2025 and how that affects their maintenance at Callahan House. And but to go over what this project is or what the needs are, we do have issues with unhoused persons making encampments in the back area here of Callahan House, behind the garden shed in this general area, and then now we just built a new shed, which unfortunately had a requirement to have some space behind it, which we also assume will create some more encampment issues along with down the basement stair of the auto house. And so this is kind of a multi-purpose project or group of needs here, but to mitigate encampment issues, what we've done so far is to make these areas restricted areas so that people, because Callahan House is open to the public, but that those are restricted areas, and if people want to be on the grounds during public open time, they need to be in public areas, which is the gazebo area here and then like the south and east gardens, and not back in these maintenance areas. So there's signage. Of course, signage doesn't keep anyone out, but it at least gives me something to fall back on and say, hey, you can't be back here. And so the idea is to get some fencing in these areas that doesn't impede any of the aesthetics of the garden, but that can help keep people out of these maintenance areas. Back here by the garden shed, to continue the lattice fencing that's there so that vining can grow into that over time, and it will look like the rest of everything back here. And then some continuation of the gating or the chain link fencing potentially. There's some different ideas there. We need to figure out what works. For the auto house stairs, and then I think the idea, again, we need to talk to parks and see what is doable and what works best and what they are familiar with doing in other parks around town. But behind the new storage shed, we're thinking maybe some boulders on the ground back there. I did install some very temporary security solar security lighting on Amazon for the time being until we can do something a little more extensive. But security lighting, flood lighting, just mitigating access to those areas and the interest in those areas is the idea for the encampment issue. The other piece of it is the back fence over here behind the garden shed is falling down and needs to be repaired sooner than later. What else goes along with that? I think that's...
Do we have, how many individuals are we finding? How many different individuals are we finding? I know we have one particular individual.
One particular, yes, that's been suspended from the property for a year.
Okay, so address that one.
The issue there is that yes, those suspensions exist and have been issued in person by the city security. However, the police department has advised us not to engage with this person, but if we see this person, to call the non-emergency line. They have to engage with the person physically and issue a trespass in order for there to be any sort of further action, which is difficult because obviously when that person knows that they've been seen, they vacate the premises immediately, and so we can call and say, hey, they were here, but unless the police actually engage with them on property, they can't issue a trespass. And the unfortunate thing is obviously we want to be sensitive to what these people are experiencing. However, leaving items, going to bathroom, a lot of things that obviously we can't have take place on property are taking place, and so that's why the suspension has been issued. So there's at least that individual, and right now there's not a lot of signs of encampment going on because of the cold weather, but as soon as the weather is nice, we're going to see it again. And I think there's another individual that's fairly regular as well. Other than that, I can't say. They're typically here when they know no one's here. So.
Okay, I've got a couple of things. Do we have because I know how the city works, do we have an overall, new, umbrella or graph of where we lie within the city in our notebooks? Can we get one?
What do you mean? A map of the city?
A map of the hierarchy of how the departments and where we fall in under the departments.
Like a flow chart of
A
all
flow
the
chart,
departments
yeah,
in the
that's
city?
basically for,
Is that the same org chart that we got?
yeah, and is it still accurate? That's question.
Are we
Yeah.
talking about restricted area encampment mitigation? Or?
I know you brought up how there's been changes in that staff is gonna be changing as
It
for the
doesn't
parks and
change the
stuff.
flow chart though, it
that's
just
what my
changes the person.
It just, so has there been major changes in the flow chart since we've received it?
I will update you.
Yes,
Items from
yeah.
staff.
Okay, second,
Does not change where this sits.
okay. Second, it sounds like you're doing everything that you can in regards to the encampment stuff.
Right, I'm on hold until we can figure out
And
what
tell
we get from parks.
what we're doing.
And
And
no more tomorrow morning, hopefully.
I'm so sorry that we're dealing with this in general, but I think
Well,
it's
it's-
just what we do.
There's lots of places within the city that are dealing with it, so.
Okay, and it's just how my mind works, Ben, I apologize, but when I hear it, it just ticks that, do we have a current one? Does everybody, is everyone aware of where we fall within the city departments? And that's one of those things, and has it changed, of the hierarchy and how staff is set up and all that kind of stuff? Thank you. No. Simple answer. Thank you, Ben.
But on the
I'll
note
talk
of,
about it.
Okay.
on the note of mitigation, I think what's really important to continue to practice is to ensure that the property is not so altered that it's taking away from the beauty and the history.
Right, yeah,
And
which is what I
so,
mentioned, that
I think
aesthetics would be continued
we
in a way
just-
that doesn't affect that.
But we also have concerns. We know what happened at St. Stephen's where an individual came through and
Which is why we have tempered glass, we're
Which-
protecting our windows now,
threw the
but,
rock and did all
Yes.
that. And
But,
these are
um,
things that are
Yeah.
concerning.
And I mean,
yes.
you know, having a laundry line of clothes hanging back there, I think is an aesthetic problem, and so putting a fence there instead seems like a better.
and if there is to be a fence there, then, if it is one,
The one B reflects what's already there.
Yeah,
I believe
but
we
does not,
talked last
then,
time about that.
yeah. we
does
have-
not become a prison looking. You know what I'm getting.
Whatever
I think
way
we talked
there will
about,
be a
we already have
continuation.
trestle fence back there and to continue that look.
Yeah.
To have that
But
same
not
look.
go up the stairs. Not go up the-
You're-
That's a-
he's talking about
that's a
over here, you're
completely
talking
different
about
thing.
the
Okay.
outhouse.
And then that fence
We're
just-
not, I don't have any thoughts on
Okay,
that, so.
that's on the stairs. And then the fencing that you're talking about, there's something that is a kind of little block.
Partial
Maybe to
fence
go-
that's
the
there
partial
will be
fence.
continued.
But rather than go across the lawn with it, cutting off the property, I would not advise that. I would say go around the area that just blocks it off, so that it is not.
Well, that's
What
still
you're
creates
gonna
a
do, now
hidden
you're
space
creating a
back
spot
there,
back
so,
there on the side.
Yeah.
You'll always
If you do
have a
that.
corner somewhere that has
Karen,
nooks and crannies.
we will talk about it more.
Okay, I just wanted to make
But-
sure that,
But if you're creating a blind spot. A corner right here is directly visible from the road, as opposed to if we now create another corner in the
Yeah.
back there, so.
a corner in the back, I'm thinking a corner in the back that would still be visible from the road.
Well,
Well,
you're
it
creating a
needs to be
small
visible from over
corridor,
here.
and that's asking
Where
where
we're
you
at.
can't see anything. This would be something where you can see immediately, anybody that's walking by, you can see what's going on.
Yeah, we don't wanna create the
So-
same issue.
So we really appreciate the fact that you guys handle
It's,
the
it's,
tough stuff.
it's,
Yeah.
So we'll talk
It's a
to
challenge
Parks
the
and
whole
see
city
what's
is working
doable
on.
and, yeah,
And-
but before anything is installed, we'll review it.
And the same goes, we were aware, from walking the property, we were aware that back that back fence along the
Was
property
needing maintenance.
was needing maintenance all this time. Because we get out and walk the property and see what, when we're reviewing our maintenance list, we get out and we see, oh, and check that and check that. And so this is one of those things that if you walk around, you can see there's a tree damage and some other things here. And this is just for the new board members to be aware of what we've done. We were aware that that back fence was going to need a repair at some point.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to new business. We have election of officers. Our officers are chairman, secretary, and historian. Duties of officers, and you can chime in if you have things to add to this, but the chairman of the board conducts the meetings, Robert's Rules of Order, makes the report at the end of the year.
I sent the agenda for review, I sent the agenda to the chairperson after each meeting for the next meeting to review, so we kind of do the agenda together for each meeting.
Other things?
Are the bylaws included in the new members' binders?
So that's just been on.
Here,
I went ahead and make copies. I kind of in anticipation of just actually I'm reading them for
Everybody, thank you.
and written.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, so here they are all. Duties of officers.
Thank you.
Duties of officers. Chairperson presides at all the meetings, applying Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised. In the chairperson's absence, a board member volunteers to chair the meeting, in which I have done because Karen left this seat vacant and to take care of it today.
Her year off in between terms, so.
Hopefully.
Monitor actions of the advisory board with appropriate follow-through, receive monthly agenda items and supporting documentation from board members, prepare monthly board meeting agenda with staff liaison and house manager. So the agenda will be posted with the board meeting packet by 5 days prior to the board meeting, and those are posted in a public place, and we'll decide that later. This meeting in November, prepare and provide the annual report. So, duties of the secretary are to record and keep minutes of all advisory board monthly meetings. There is a format that has been suggested and brought forth from the city that you would follow for keeping those minutes, preparing those minutes. Prepare them and provide them to the chairperson and the house manager for distribution to advisory board members prior to the next monthly meeting, and tend to board correspondence relating to the business of the advisory board. Historian develops and maintains a system for preserving photographs, historical documents, and promotional materials regarding the Callahan House. So, any questions about those duties? Okay, so at this point, I would entertain nominations from the board as to chairperson.
I'd like to nominate Karen for chair. I'd like to nominate Karen Cruz for chair.
I accept that nomination. I would be honored to serve as chairperson. This is a passion of mine.
Just the board makes
I
nominations.
enjoy
Just the board makes nominations.
leading and following through.
Any other nominations? Okay, I need a motion.
I move that we accept Karen as chair for the coming year for the Callahan House.
Second, Cindy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, congratulations, Karen.
It's an honor, thank you.
Okay, next, nominations on the floor for secretary.
Secretary is a tough job. It is, it's a tough job. Cindy has been very gracious and done it.
And you're very happy if you nominate someone else.
Cindy, you don't
In
have
other
to
words,
accept
don't
a
even look at
nomination.
me. You can turn us down.
Yeah, you
So-
don't have to accept a nomination if you.
That's one of those
to.
things. I know, because everybody, it's very public knowledge I have MS, so I'm not a good candidate for that position, but I'm gonna say it's a very difficult position, but very, Important, thank you, thank you.
My opinion is the secretary needs to be somebody that has, I've been secretary of several different things, and I know what kind of job it is, but I think it needs to be somebody that has been on the board to walk into something like this and not be familiar with all the things that have gone on and the things that are going on. I think it would be a crazy position to not be familiar with a lot of the issues. That's my opinion. It's tough, but you need to be familiar with what's going on and what has gone on a little bit. You can't just walk into it.
Well, I can share with you the first 2 years of my serving on the board, I served as secretary, so I started from the go. And what was wonderful and helpful was that the chairperson at the time kind of oversaw what I would prepare. I would put together the minutes. I'd say, does this look accurate? Am I right? Do I have everything correct? Am I saying things right? And she would double check my work and correct me and give me corrections and suggestions where I needed, and then say, okay, now this is ready for the board to review. So it can continue to be that way. I certainly am willing to help in that manner. And so that I don't want anyone, just because you are new, to feel that you cannot serve as secretary effectively. I know that you can. I did.
Our problem functionally with what you're talking about is that means it's candy. That's it. So we don't. And
I know, I knew when I was saying that I was throwing her under the bus. And Candy is a good friend of mine.
Oh, well, she may be.
Yeah. I knew I was going under the bus one way or the other somewhere today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will nominate myself for secretary. How's that?
Thank you, Candy. Thank you, Candy.
Well, then I move that we appoint Candy as secretary.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So then, historian. Karen has been our historian
For the last
until
2
now.
years.
So do we have?
I will nominate myself to step forward in that position because I do feel like that's something I can do, and I've already set forth my feet in getting the scrapbook, so I'm going to stick my neck out as well. So,
Okay.
Wonderful.
Any other nominations? Okay, I move that Maureen be historian of
Second that.
this year. Seconded by Karen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, Karen, Candy, and Maureen are your officers. All right, now moving on to approval of the meeting. Now, I assume I'm going to continue this out.
normally we have the president continue it out.
Yes, and let's have Cindy continue as secretary for this meeting. Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking if you want me to continue the agenda.
Yes, yeah, he continues to.
All right, so approval of meeting date. We meet on the second Wednesday at 9 a.m. But we're
Open
open to
to
entertaining any suggestions.
For change.
if desired.
It's good for me.
The thing is, I think, and I guess the discussion point is why it's here, is that if this isn't working, if this time isn't working for members, we need to be open and flexible enough as a board to look at change, and also possibly meet the evening or afternoon, what would be better to promote new board members. I think it works well for where we're at. I would like to change it to 9:30 if we could instead of 9, but that's just a suggestion.
That's fine in terms of the house.
That's acceptable in my opinion. How about you?
Don't leave me.
Okay, entertain a motion then for that.
I move that we move the meeting time to 9:30.
That's still on the second Wednesday.
Still on the second Wednesday of the month.
And second that.
Okay. I need a second.
I'll second that.
Karen, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alrighty, second Wednesday of each month, 9:30 in the morning. Okay, so minutes process review.
Can I interject just for a moment?
Yeah.
I think that at this point we added in the posting location for agendas and cancellations.
Right,
So
yeah, I
we add
think
that
I
in
stuck it
as
in
our-
somewhere else, but here,
Add
yeah.
that in as our C, because that's kind of the
I thought that referred
Process of
to
business.
C as well.
Kind of dictated
That's
by
what I thought. Anyway, we need to decide where these are posted. Now they're posted at city.
So this is kind of dictated by the clerk's office, but they're posted online. So the agenda, the packets, the minutes, once they're accepted and updated, are all posted online, on the website. And that's done through a platform that the city uses to post all of that online. And then the agenda is also posted ahead of meetings, online, and also at the Civic Center, the physical document, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then cancellations are the same thing, online, on that forum, and physically at the Civic Center.
Okay, no
So
longer at
that's
the
kind of
library.
standard for
That was a long time ago.
all boards and commissions.
Alright, okay.
So I move that we continue with the city's policies and continue to post agendas and cancellations in the same locations as stated.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
If the motion passes. City postings remain as they are. Okay.
And that's
So
website
then-
integrated to Kimberg.
C then, minutes process review.
So that was just, we wanted to talk about this with the new board members, here in January, but just to kind of, reiterate that the minutes are meant to be a concise summary of meetings and not necessarily a super detailed, documentation of every word that was used at the meetings. As we mentioned, they're recorded, audio and video recordings that are available online, and I think I would encourage everybody to watch those after the meetings, when you're looking at, the minutes, and if you have any changes for the next meeting. I think those are a really helpful tool. But that the minutes themselves are meant to be kind of a concise summary of actions taken, so, any votes that take place and whether or not they're approved, and just general actions, that are taken or intended to be taken is what the minutes are intended to be as directed by the clerk's office.
I agree to an extent. I know they're supposed to be that, but I also know that the videos aren't always there, and sometimes there's mishaps with that. I'm glad that we're
Which is
doing
why we
it,
added the additional recording.
and I'm thrilled with this. I also know that that recording of the meetings are a good thing. They've got new technology now where we can add it, and it can help get minutes and stuff out there. I just think that detail isn't necessarily a bad thing.
To an extent.
To an extent.
Yeah, and we want accurate details included, in terms of what we're doing here, but, Cindy did a really great job with the December minutes of making them concise, but still had all of the information that was needed, and so I think that's a really good example to use.
So my question is, are the minutes still going to be sent out ahead of time, or are we going to treat them as we used to, when you would receive the minutes, be able to read them and then make your corrections?
I think that's what we want to talk about here, yeah.
Okay, so traditionally, anytime I've taken minutes, and in the past even with this board, take the minutes and send them to Brittany or whoever was the house manager, and then we would go look them over. They would be finalized through the house manager, from my experience, and then they would be included in the packets. But everybody had a packet to look at, would read through the minutes and make the corrections. That's what I'm used to. So
And that is,
what are we doing going forward?
yeah, that is how the process is meant to exist. What we kind of started doing last year a little bit was the secretary would send out the minutes to everybody and do a track changes document so you can see everybody's corrections and have everybody contribute before the meeting for the purposes of saving time at the meeting, not going through the minutes. Ideally, we can cut down on that process if everybody is understanding that it's meant to be a concise summary and not overly detailed description. So that said, what are the thoughts in terms of that process?
Now, I have something to add. A council member, even at our board meeting, advised us that city council uses the practice of receiving minutes and then being able to provide individual council member input back on those minutes prior to them being published in a form so that it's put in a packet for a meeting. And he advised us that it was an effective method and it is efficient for purposes of meetings as well. I do think that going forward with that process is extremely helpful. Sometimes people may have something to add, other times they may not. When there's something to add, as long as it is important in nature, potentially either with regard to an action taken or a specific item that is specifically more about the house, and we all know that what we do with the house here is quite different from any regular run-of-the-mill HOA or any other board minutes. So we have some more intricate detail that needs to be included. It's not a bad thing to include it. It's also quite helpful because in the process of future grant writing, and I've said this before, when I went through the process of grant writing, I went back through looking through minutes to find information. Sometimes I could find things, others I couldn't. It made it a bit cumbersome and challenging. So it is really helpful if specific aspects are included in our minutes, and only we will know what those are in that moment, in that month. And then if we're looking at the minutes that are drafted and saying, I remember this, and that was an important, noteworthy thing that needs to be included in something that's written. And while things are recorded visually and in audio, there are technical issues that do occur. I think that having the written record as authentic and inclusive as possible is truly important, given the work that we do with this historic property.
I do think that it was suggested, and this is why we came up with the option of doing what we've been doing now, and I do think it's working. That we post them, you can add to them. It does make the meeting times here less in length. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have.
I do belong to other groups that have gone to simplify the minutes process. They have gone to sending it to the members ahead of time, so that when you're at the meeting, then are there any additions or corrections to the minutes that were sent out, and then you discuss that and move on from there.
And
so it does shorten the time, and I agree with that 100%. Karen and I are going to have to agree to disagree because I am on board with this shortened form, and that's how I'm going to take minutes.
Yeah, and that is.
I am a detail person, but not this detail person. So again, we have to agree to disagree as far as those minutes are concerned.
And that's the advisement from the clerk's office too, is it's a concise summary. That is what it is meant to be. So that is correct if that's how you.
I do not have the fancy computer program like you had to send things out and you could make your changes and stuff like that and shoot them back, but I can send them to you first, I assume, and then we would send them. Is that how it works?
Yeah, and really it's just what Cindy did was just to send out the Word document, and then when people are going to make changes, they set it up to where they're tracking.
They're tracking the changes, and you can see it, and you can agree to disagree. And if you don't agree with the changes at the meeting, then we can say those changes I'm not gonna agree with. And I think it's working the way it is now.
Okay.
The way that we've come to an agreement to this. Yeah, everybody has their points on what they think is too much and a fine line. But this way it works in the sense of if you don't agree with the changes that are being put in, we don't have to approve them at the meeting. And that's a good thing, because those are highlighted. And we can see that and we can say, okay, no, I don't agree with that statement, we're gonna delete that part. I will accept it as the previous minutes being inputted. It does save us time, I think, because we have gone over this and we've gone over this in the point we came to this conclusion that if we put it out ahead of time, we're not wasting so much time in the minute.
When does it need to be to you? What's the deadline?
So, excuse me, the Monday prior to the week before. So,
But that's in
trying to make
its
that concise.
So the first Monday of the month.
form to be presented.
Well, not necessarily.
No, not necessarily.
No, okay, I get
It
you.
wouldn't have been this.
The Monday
this time.
prior to.
Yeah, so the Monday, prior to the Wednesday.
9
before
days
the-
prior.
Okay.
Before,
Thank you.
10 days, yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
Because there's my problem.
So I'm gonna put together, I get the packet out to you all the week prior.
Mhm.
So I need it the Monday, before that Wednesday that I'm sending it out the week
Okay.
prior. So in that said, yes, everybody is gonna contribute to them, but Candy is doing it correctly and taking a concise summary, so I just don't want everybody contributing to alter that in such a way that then it gets overtaken and too much detail is added. And I agree that detail is important, but there is a point.
Of detail.
Yeah.
I do
And in
think,
the end, it's up to Candy to,
Capture that.
and send out that final process.
and in truth, and in the end, the board decides
The board decides.
The board decides on how detailed those minutes need to be. And if we don't agree that those details are important at the time, we don't have to approve them as that point. So it's one of those things that
It is a board decision.
it's a board decision, and then we'll go from there. And I thank you, Candy, for stepping up to do this, because it is not the easiest position. And I do want to thank Cindy for doing it, because she's been a really great asset to have with the board for doing this. And
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so we'll go with that, and if we need to make adjustments to it, but this is the
Cindy gets to
understanding
finish
that
this week.
everybody understands that it's a summary.
It's not over yet.
then
Maybe
she'll
we'll have a cup of coffee and share things with me. Okay, so moving on, dates for the open houses, art walk, etc. To me, this seems like a really big task to do right now. But what do y'all think?
I think it must be done. This is one of those things, otherwise things are gonna be dropped off. This meeting, January meeting, is always the big meeting in the sense that we've got to get everything on the table and put in place.
I see something that needs to be decided, I think, before we do that, though. I think if we skip to E first, the fall tea and the club affair, rate of occurrence. I think we need to talk about that. And then that falls into setting dates for things like that.
Yes, it does.
Okay,
They're
so
kind of
fall
individual.
tea is where we invite former board members, house managers, prospective board members, to the house, to enjoy the house and have a nice tea. And we have been doing it every year, is that correct?
Yes.
Since
Since we reopened the house, so.
after COVID? So how many years have we done that now?
This will be the 5th year.
Okay. This year, if we
This
do it,
year.
it'll be the 5th
This
year, okay.
year.
And then the club affair was an event that we started, way back in 2011, I think, and we invited clubs and groups from the community to Callahan House, and then originally we charged them for a table to set up their information and promote their club or their organization. Excuse me, bless you, to get members to join the group. and also to recruit them into using the house for their meeting place. That was kind of an ulterior goal. And then by charging them for the table, that was a fundraiser for us. So we did it probably, I want to say 3 years maybe in a row. Just 2 in a row. Okay. And then it kind of went away, and the house manager didn't really want to do it, but it was fairly successful. And then we resurrected it last summer. And it was very successful. We did it out in the garden, and it was a suggested donation amount for the group. They brought their own tables, their own chairs, their own tents. It was just, we have this facility for you to use. And then the city advertises for us. We advertised and we invited all kinds of groups and organizations, and how many we end up with?
I think there were about 18 or something like that.
Total. I do think, and we didn't look at it as making a large fundraiser. We kind of changed from looking at it as a fundraiser as more as doing this as a community outreach event. And there are a couple of things that we could have done that would make it better. We have to be very careful that we aren't falling right in that time frame as when they're doing the city event down here. And that kind of overlapped a little bit. Even so, it was a great success as far as I was concerned. And we also came up with ideas that we could do food trucks instead of providing things and other things timing wise. I don't know that we need to do it on a yearly basis, but maybe every other year would be a suggestion. And or look at the timing on when it occurs, that we are not overlapping with unity in the community down on Main Street, because we have a lot of the same organizations. I don't know, just a suggestion.
Last year, just for some context, we had 215 people come to this event. It was from 10 to 1 on a Saturday in August. So yeah, 215 people attended, and we made $500 or $600. I have to subtract the cost here, but well, actually minus staffing, I'll say we made $400 or $500 on that event.
We had dancers in the garden. We had music. It was awesome. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, and it really was very cool.
Live music with string quartet on the veranda, and then Mexican dancers out at a certain point. Each of them being an organization promoting themselves.
I think it's a great thing to continue annually and changing the date and avoiding conflict of any other local event. But the reason is because it is consistent with promoting club use of this house. The gift of this house was meant for club use. Now, if we are continuing to promote clubs and the community connecting with clubs, finding their people, I think that is further outreach than just the clubs that meet in the house. And I do think that is the purpose to continue. It is a community benefit. It is something that the Callahan House offers and promotes. It's good for the community. It's good for the clubs. It promotes, again, the Callahan House, its origin, why it's in the city of Longmont. Selecting a different day and getting going. We just got our feet under ourselves, getting it started up again. So if you're concerned, or anyone's concerned, may be attendance. Once it is an annual thing and people are expecting it, we will have higher attendance. We will have different clubs. Some may be able to participate in one summer or one day, 1 year. Other clubs may not be available for this year, but they're available for next year. So providing that variety in an annual event is a good idea.
Okay, I understand the purpose of why we want to do it. I think it's great for our grant writing purposes too, to also prove that we are beneficial to the community. It's just, and I also understand that, Candy was the chair this year and did a tremendous amount of work, and so did other board members. Speaking of Karen Reed and Cindy and whatnot, and I think coming up with our list that we hadn't done it for a while, and then having to try to figure out who to contact again and who's the current person to reach out for this and that, whatever else, doing it annually would make it easier because we'd be able to have those contacts and continuous contacts. Dropping a year is hard to get up and go the following section. Again, I think it's all about time.
I feel removed from the project at the moment. Right after the project, I thought, do we want to do this again?
It's a lot of work.
So, but I can see what the benefit of using our memory, because it's fresher right now, in recreating this again. And we learned that there's a whole lot of groups out there that we didn't even think of. That maybe it's a challenge then to expand and come up with some more. Got 3 new people here now that would give us more context, more people invite. So I am not as opposed to it as I was.
Memory fades.
Well, and the reason, just to play devil's advocate, the reason that we had talked about that is for the same reason as the fall tea, because 2 years ago it was very well attended. And then last year it was a little bit underattended, and the thought behind that was maybe because it's an annual event, there's not as much hype, whereas people like, I really want to get to that this year because it's only offered every however many years. I think that was kind of the thought with Club Affair, is that we might kind of have the same hype if it's only offered every so often, that people will really be excited about being involved with it while they can. And it is a lot of work, it's a ton of work. And just so that this is accurately portrayed, as the 215 people in attendance also included the folks that were here, the club people that were here. So realistically, that number from the community is maybe 150 or so, which is not nothing, but it's a lot of work for, and like I said, obviously we want this event to become bigger over time and become more well attended. I think the offering that we put out there was really great, but it's something to think about, the impact that it did have, and the feedback that we got back from the clubs. Some felt that it was like really beneficial for them to get out there and talk to people, and some felt that it was a little bit underattended. So just to see both sides about the reason that we were considering not having it annually is because the amount of work that goes in and trying to quantify the impact that it's really having, especially because the city does put on a very large event that is basically the same thing in the summer on an annual basis.
So this is one of those quandary things that we have to think about. Maybe we tweak it. Maybe we change how we do it. Maybe we do it in the evening, or get the food trucks and get a little more different vibe and try to get. I think
we tried to get the food trucks last year, and the reason that we couldn't is because they have a minimum, and so if you don't meet that minimum, then we're responsible for covering that, and there was no way we were going to meet that minimum.
So signage is another factor we talked about, and attendance in any of the events.
Yeah.
Which I think has been addressed with the purchase of signs that are going to be hung on.
Did we purchase a banner?
The engagement ones are out there right now, although I think they need a little uptick after the storm, but yeah, the engagement ones are out there, and then it'll be kind of the same deal for the public event ones.
Okay.
I think if something becomes an annual event, it will grow in popularity. It will serve a greater number of the community.
It could be the opposite effect, though, where people feel like it's so accessible that they don't need to attend it regularly.
But then again, you could say the same thing about art walks. And art walks are always well attended because people like to go
Art Walk
down
is an
there.
established event that the city has this major event in conjunction with, and then kind of tack on to, so I think that's a difference. It's a different event.
that's.
So it could be the fact that we somehow tack on to unity in the community.
Thank you, that's exactly where I was going with that. Is
Instead
the
of doing our own event that is in competition with, maybe we
do one in
Select it to
continuation. with-
on the same day and work,
Yes,
collaborate with them.
Yeah.
And
just a thought.
that's an option.
When there are a lot of people downtown in this area anyway, and with not walking distance, maybe we do kind of tie it all in with the unity and the community event.
Then my
Put it on a
suggestion,
map with all the different,
Yeah, like with Art Walk, we are a sponsor in that event, and so we're
Right.
listed as a location to visit, and you know. So that
my
might be
suggestion
another
would
way
be
to do that.
that we don't do Club Affair this year, and that we focus on attending the city's event and figure out with them how we can fit into it for the next year.
And it's LTTA, I think.
Are we losing
Yeah,
our
it's the
ability-
downtown development.
Which is which has a connection with the city too, but
Yeah.
But are we losing, if we don't have a satellite event, I'll call it that, here with the unity community, are we losing our momentum in the contacts of the clubs and continuation?
based on how many we got this year after it had been so long.
But based on the fact that we did it 2 years in a row before, and the third year, we didn't want to do it,
I think that was like you said, was because
But that's-
the
that's-
didn't want to. But
the attendance the second year wasn't as good as it was the first year. The situation was different, the layout was different, how we presented it was different, but
those were all indoor events.
it was all indoor, yeah, and it just wasn't good to continue it.
And keeping in mind too that like, if we do it in August again, or if it's in conjunction with Unity, the Art Walk is a set date, that's September 13th. So that's 2 big garden events, you know, some are back to back for us in our busiest months. It's a lot, and it's not undoable, obviously, we did it last year, but it's just something to consider also that we're gonna have another big event at Art Walk a
But
few
serves
weeks later.
different purposes, but serves different purposes.
Of course,
There is regarding clubs.
I'm talking about the effort that goes into
Art
making
Walk
those
is
events
hard.
happen.
Well,
Is this a decision that needs to be made today? I think we could,
that's just what I was gonna say.
It's hard
Yeah.
to
I really would like to
To
see
find out
us
what the city is,
consider
their
this
calendar events.
for next month and make a final decision next month. I really don't see us being able to sit down here and now and plan all this calendar.
I think we can do the
Much.
open house.
Right.
We should probably at least get the April open house on the books.
To what?
At least get the April open house on the books.
I would say
Okay.
allow her to talk to like LDBA about what
Bring
that
out
might
some
look like,
information.
so that we can get back to it next month and
Yeah.
be a little bit more informed.
And then, because this has been tied on the agenda with, the tea. Yes, we have had a follow-up with the fall tea, but we also have board members that are passing away,
But I have to
And
say,
other
that we
things
also
that
have
are
members
just-
who wanted to be here
but couldn't
last year,
because.
weren't able to, and are then looking forward to this year. That is a reality. So, and the fall tea serves several purposes. It is the one time of the year that we get to speak with and have city council members here in the house to share with them in person the activities that the board has undergone through the whole year for the benefit of the house and the benefit of the city. It is the way that they can actually put their eyes on and be present in our work. It also acknowledges everything that we've done throughout the year. It also provides an opportunity to invite potential new members who may consider applying for the board to come and see what it is we've done over the course of the year. It is a multi-purpose that serves many purposes to continue to have that as an annual event. And
I don't know that we cancel it for this year. Here's my suggestion. I suggest that we look at having additional community members invited, like
yes,
the person that runs the LEA or
Yes.
the local area visitors association chairperson or along those lines. Maybe the historic preservation commission chair should also be invited to attendance to up our attendance and also really establish what we're trying to achieve.
I move that we move forward with the fall team.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
That we talked more about it this year and ways to expand it, because that was
Yeah.
also my concern last year is the exclusivity, and not
Yeah.
necessarily in a good way, and revamping what the purpose of that tea is and who should be included in that purpose.
I think really for what we would like to achieve in our overall achievement, I think that we open it up and broaden not just past board members, which I have also stated that past board members are passing away. People have passed on, various people that have been part of the board, and the memory is fading, but it's also important to include the ones that are currently here to be brought in to see what we're doing, and then we just, okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so we need to set a date for the open house in April, is that what you said?
Yeah, the last one was April 25th, a Thursday. And this year in 2024, we had done the open houses from 4:30 to 7:30. So I think we want to shorten those to 2 hours, but the question then is, what do we want those 2 hours to be? It's 5 to 7 or 4:30 to 6:30. Since it's not a Thursday night, we want to give people time to get here after work. But the first hour is always the most popular, and we had started that at 4:30. So
Who is invited to this open house?
it's completely open to the public.
Okay.
So we do
Okay.
basically a quarterly open house.
Okay.
One in April is the spring
Spring.
open house. Another one in July for summer, and then we also have the fall open house is basically the Art Walk open house, which takes place in September,
Okay.
and that's in conjunction with the Firehouse Art Center, Art on Main. We do that in conjunction
And it's
with them
not
every
just
year.
an open house, because what we do is we invite artists to be here in the home, and last year we also had them in the gardens,
Yeah,
which
Art Walk
we've
is
expanded
a much
on
bigger
how many
event.
more
Okay.
artists are coming.
But the spring and summer open houses are just an open house. We sell some of the Callahan House, like artwork and merchandise. We have board members and staff throughout the house to share
Do tours.
history about the house. But otherwise, it's just kind of an open house. So that spring and summer, fall art walk is bigger. And then in December, we do the Santa open house, which is registration based because it's very popular. And then we do just a general open house where people can come see the holiday decor that's open to the public. So they're always open to the public. We mark them in all of the city's marketing avenues and try to and we also take cash donations at all of these events.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's the purpose of them. So last year it was April 25th on a Thursday. So I would
Do we
say
have
we
the
go for that.
city's calendar so that we
24.
are making sure we're not selecting a day that would be in conflict? with the
not on me, but I don't think
I think we need to be
the city's doing
mindful
any
of
big events, not for the April one, for the holiday ones, we'll definitely wanna make sure that we have those at an appropriate time, with Longmont lights.
So you're saying a Thursday though, right?
It was, last year it was a Thursday on the 25th,
Yeah, so this is
so
the 24th.
that would be the 24th this year. Assuming we want, and later in the month is better because hopefully the weather is a little better. So I would say April 24th, and then the question is, do we wanna do 4:30 to 6:30 or 5 to 7 for the time frame, since we're shortening it to 2 hours?
Let's do the 4:30.
Let's go check 5 to 7.
I was actually gonna suggest
It doesn't matter.
5 to 7 as well.
Because it is a work day.
It's a work day, and that's
Yeah.
always hard
Yeah.
for people to get.
Yeah.
Whereas
Most
in the
people-
winter, have it earlier,
Yeah.
4:30, because it's
Well, we
dark.
wanna keep
Hasn't
them
been for-
consistent throughout the
Oh.
year too, so whatever we decide for this one will be the same for July, and the holiday decor. The other ones are a little bit different, because they're more involved.
I
but-
personally think 5 to 7 is just more appropriate with people working and
I don't care.
schedules,
Sounds good to me.
schools and everything else. 5 to 7 is what I
April
would go
24th, 5 to 7, are we good?
Yep, so
Right.
I move we put it on the calendar from 5 to 7 on April 24th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5 to 7, April 24th. Okay, so now,
Should we plan the rest of the open
Yes,
house, or you just want to do that?
We need to
We
select
might
summer.
we are at
yes, we are.
almost 2.5 hours
Yes, we
right
are.
now.
Yeah.
So we can continue, but
I say anything on the
Maybe you wanna look
calendar,
at something
we
we
save
could wait
until
till
next
next
month.
Yeah, let's move
Okay.
this to.
because that can be a major than.
So items from staff,
I'm not saying we have to.
Yeah, the next one's not till July, so we've
Yeah,
got some
well, I
time.
wanna make sure you guys are okay with it. I'm not telling you to do that, I'm just bringing it.
I just think the January meeting tends to be the longest meeting period, and I would prefer to just get done and over with then, honestly, if
Well,
we can get
I
this.
have
In my
a meeting
opinion,
I've
is you
already
may have
paid
another
for.
hour to do that stuff, to pick out all the dates and committees.
My
If
head's
that's
not
okay,
in dates
again,
right now.
if that's what,
Can I move ahead? I'm not, my head's not where it should be to put dates down for anything.
Yeah, have everybody come with their calendar.
Yeah,
Yes.
calendars,
And I can
suggestions.
figure out, I can come with the city's calendar also for next month.
That will be helpful. Okay,
So we're moving on to
finalize
items from
our
states.
open house and event dates next month.
Items from staff.
I was gonna talk about our change, so there's it's a large change, does not really have to do directly with recreation or Callahan House, but Parks is being recombined back with recreation, golf, museum and library. So it's been over 20 years. And so what's gonna happen is Jeff Friesner will continue to be the director over add in parks into his thing, which includes
Many
open
hats.
space. Yeah, it's got a big deal to it. We are certainly optimistic because us in recreation have always believed that Parks and Recreation should be in the same department. And I have been highly discouraged at the way that has gone over the years. Since Don Bessler left in '08. So I'm excited about this opportunity. I think it's really good. I think it, Jeff lends a more community view to things rather than a clinical view, which is a lot of where our parks have gone. So I think his influence will be a really good thing in that division. So that's it. Won't affect our stuff day to day, but I think it's a good thing. So I want
He's
to let
not
you guys know
retiring
that.
anytime soon.
He is retiring sometime soon. I'll say it is sometime likely in 26. So
What's his last name?
Friesner, Friesner.
If anything, it'll probably be a positive change for Callahan House.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to mention it to you guys, because I feel like, I'm not gonna talk about next week or our meeting tomorrow, but over time, I'd like to see more of the idea of parks as an art form rather than a clinical discussion, so. Anyway, let's get to it.
Okay, thank you. Good luck with that. Items from the board.
The manager's report is under items from staff. No, that's okay. In fact, when it's in here, I probably should just add it to the agenda because it's a lot of times we're like, oh yeah. So I'll do that moving forward. It's there for you to review. I guess if anybody, I won't go over it since we're at time, but if anybody has questions, otherwise it's there. December financials will be included in the next meeting because since this has been created, I've since gotten those. But October and November are here, and for the new folks, this is a quarterly report that I put together just about what have we done this quarter. Here are the financials from the quarter, usage of the house, and it's just kind of a snapshot overview each quarter that will be included in the packet. So we'll see
So
next
we
month in April.
can do a deep dive next month. Is that what you're saying?
Well, now I'm saying that the December financials, so the financials come out when they come out, when finance can get to them, and so I'll share those as they're available. So December financials will be in the packet, but not as part of another manager's report.
Okay.
If you have questions about the report, now is the time, otherwise the information is there for your review.
Can you clarify on the private donation line item, just real quick? Can you tell it from month to month, is that, it's just a continuing beginning balance, or is that the amount in that month?
This is a year-to-date report, so this is the amount as of the end of October and the end of November in that account. Yeah, so it's a year-to-date report.
Accumulates, continues to. Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Oh, I will note that you'll see that the fund balance changes from October to November, and I reached out to finance to get clarification on that, and it was to, as we had talked about throughout the year, the budget this year was gonna be a little bit tough because of the property taxes not funding as much of the general fund for the city as is normal, so that decrease is to fund some extra funding that we needed for 2025 that the city wasn't able to provide this year because of the change in property taxes. So that's what that change is basically to help our budget for 2020, Callahan House budget for 2025.
Okay.
So that was the only thing that might be of note in terms of the financials, and the rest is just kind of an overview of probably mostly things that have been aware of over the past quarter.
I do have a question. How are we on our wedding bookings? How are they looking?
Yeah, we have 3 weddings booked so far this year, so a little less than I would like, but we still have some people that are inquiring for September and October, and I hope to get a couple more bookings. And I actually am working on a booking for 2026, so I think that hopefully with our boost and everything that we've done this year, that will be more of an increase probably for late this year and next year at this point, but we're kind of doing everything that we can be doing, and
Are you still purchasing for advertising online for?
Yeah, Wedding Pro. That's Wedding Wire and Wedding and the Knot are Wedding Pro, and that's our biggest avenue of inquiries and whatnot, and the biggest chunk of change that we spend in that specific type of marketing for weddings. So, and the way that because people get engaged a certain period of time out, and in 2023 there was really no marketing for that for half of the year. I think we're still kind of seeing some effects from that in this year, but we hope to see the boost from everything that we've done this past year in 2026.
Yeah. I am not surprised by the lag, but I had a question for you. Ideally, how many weddings would we like to see booked?
I would like to see 3 or 4 a month every month from June through October, or at least through September.
And we only have 3
So, and there are 3, yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely something we've talked about a lot, and it's been on our radar, and we're doing everything we can, but it's also just something that the wedding industry is seeing industry-wide. People are not having traditional weddings as much. The nice thing about Callahan House is it does cater to a smaller event. One thing that we did last year was to create the Sweet and Simple package for people that are looking for a smaller elopement style event. But yeah, our max capacity is 125 for weddings here at Callahan House. We mostly do them, they're in the garden basically, because the house can't accommodate that obviously. But so yeah, it's the whole industry, catering, coordinators, everybody is seeing a drop off. So not that that's a good thing, but it makes me feel a little bit better. It's not just us. So yeah, for whatever reason, that is something that's
in other words, if we know anybody that needs a wedding place, we'll hurry up and get them engaged and book with people. Okay.
And we have, we've been, since we got back, we weren't on Wedding Pro for 6 months in 2023, so since we got back on that, obviously inquiries have increased and whatnot, and so it's just a matter of taking that time to transfer that into the time when people are getting married.
Are those bookings that you do have directly correlated to those wedding?
It depends. I have to look back at their initial inquiry and see where they came from, but
just
we are also
return on investment.
Right, and well, it's huge. I mean, the great majority of you can see in the report, the majority of our inquiries come from that platform. And what was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, the city is also boosted, like we were on the front page of the recreation brochure. Callahan House was on the front page for weddings. and had a full page spread in the recreation brochure,
Saw
which goes
that.
up to 40,000 plus households.
You're welcome.
Yep. And so that was good, and I have actually seen, and the reason I know that that's working is because I'm getting direct emails, which means that someone went to our website, got the email, and then so that's from the city marketing, and seeing a boost in those. So that's good too. So we just redid all of our branding last year. We rebuilt our packages. We've done a lot to upgrade the facility and the offerings, and so we're doing everything we can. But you know, it's just a tough time for weddings in general. But I think we'll see the benefits of everything that we've done in 2026.
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
Under these upcoming events, I noticed the category was private rental or programming. So if it's programming, is that something that the city has in the brochure and that they're just using the facility to do that?
Depends. Great question. So I'm considering programming things that Callahan House is putting on, or things that Recreation is putting on, and Callahan House is the venue.
Okay.
So the art classes, for example, are one of those that it was actually one of my colleagues in Recreation. She programs those and contracts them, and Callahan House just serves as the venue for that event. But yes, they are listed in the brochure under the Recreation. Well, it's all Recreation, but
yeah,
those ones are not listed under the Callahan page. The Valentine's Day Tea is one that Callahan House puts on specifically, and this is our second annual. And it's been sold out for a little while now, so I'm excited about that. But that was listed on our page in the brochure. And then like the seniors engagement sessions are put on by Senior Center. So sometimes other Senior Center and Recreation are pretty much the two that put on programming where they use Callahan House, but it's their program. But it's still part of our upcoming events.
Okay, so like this Valentine tea, you said it's sold out, but is that something that the board members, you've already taken care of who's volunteering for that? Because none of that was in the agenda.
Right, no, it's
And it's gonna be before the.
it's staffed by us,
It's staffed by
by
your
Callahan
part-time.
House,
Okay.
by our staff, yeah. So yeah, we did the first one last year.
You also did the
And it was-
murder mystery thing. and-
Yeah, some programming that we established last year that we'll have on an annual basis that should be fun, and we hope to expand on.
So
this
the
year.
board member committees then would be for just like open houses and not for,
And the regular
That's
open
fine.
houses don't require a committee, but like Art Walk definitely, and Club Affair, the Fall Tea, things like that would be committee work. Yeah.
trying to get it all
Absolutely.
organized there.
Good question.
We would not try to have, we would certainly not want to do recreation programming with your guys' help. I don't think that would be, that's not an ask we want to do. It'd be something we want to be able to take care of. And if we can't, we probably shouldn't be running it. So.
Okay, we'll save the future agenda item. We're revising a new edition for the Callahan book. This is out of print, so this, Karen is working on possibly doing this, revising this.
There is a copy of that for each of you in your binder, just so you have that piece of
And I
history.
did want to reiterate really quickly that, so part of the reason that we're going to be revising that is we don't have the rights to that, and nor do we have the rights to the original video. That's one of the things that,
Or the means to acquire them.
that was another reason why we chose to do the new video.
Okay,
Back up to
so,
items from the board, just briefly.
to what?
Items from the board.
Okay,
Just
items from
briefly,
the
I
board.
have one item to share. It's the copy of the ordinances, and I think the reason it came to mind is that in part of the questioning and interviewing, it was a matter of having seen the ordinances regarding the Callahan House. So there's one packet for each piece of paper to pass along. I didn't know that you put it in there, in member binders.
It's not in there.
And so now you have a copy of the ordinances that are with respect to the Callahan House. So,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
under is,
I move that we adjourn.
I second that, it is 11:39.
What?
It is 11:39, I second the motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.